Yeah, I don't know how to start.
You're the circus leader. Let's go.
Say something.
You thought Ben was bad. Oh, man. All right. Welcome, everyone. Podcast episode number 28. Today, interviewing Operational Assistant Chief Bob Wilson, who's retiring very soon here. Lucky duck. The older I get, the farther I get into my career, the more jealous I become of guys that are retiring. Like, oh, you suck. But no, congratulations, though.
Well, thank you. You ought to try it when you got younger guys that are retiring ahead of you. It's like,
yeah, that ain't right.
No.
That ain't right. But just a couple of quick plugs real quick before we start. March 21st to April 24th. 21st was a couple days ago, but the paramedic position is open, runs till April 24th, so get your application in if you're interested. And you guys are doing a paramedic live stream again this year on April 8th, right?
That's
Cool.
That's the plan right now. Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. And that's
a live Q&A too.
Yeah,
not just
people can
talking.
call in or chat or whatever.
Yep, we'll have the chat box like we did with the fire one before the fire hiring
Cool.
and stuff. So it'll be the same Q&A kind of thing.
I might join that because I got questions.
We got answers. Maybe as best as we can, or just
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
We fake it till we make it. So that's always the thing. Yep.
Is it clear or more clearly?
Oh,
Both are grammatically correct.
both work. Yeah.
See, I did that for Paul.
Clear.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyway, Ben is gone today. He's getting ready to deploy, going to correct? So
Yep.
I'm filling in.
Is that classified information?
Location
Did you just dox like
bleep it out?
I just
You
can't.
should give the exact geographical location of
Yes,
their base. They're going to be
Yeah.
Latin lawns. You should give that.
It's the one with the
It'll
American
be in the comments
flags
section
in it.
below.
If ISIS is listening, this is where they're going to be at.
Yeah.
So thanks for having me in Ben's spot. I'm guessing this will probably be the last one. So.
Oh my God.
But anyway, back to the questions here. So Chief, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And let's just start with the basic stuff. Like, tell us where you grew up and kind of where you went to school and that kind of stuff.
Pretty boring story, but yeah, I grew up in Sioux City, been here all my life. Proud graduate of North High.
Nice.
Graduated with the likes of Ted Waite, founder of Gateway Computers, and famous actress Lori Petty,
Wow.
Really?
Point Break.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Oh, yeah, I know that one.
I didn't
I know
realize
that one.
I didn't realize she's from here.
She was a North Star.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Somewhere I took a different turn
In the
road
army now,
somewhere.
with probably Shores. She's fantastic in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So no, I grew up in the Leeds area of town. So that went to North. My calling in the fire service. My dad was a fireman, so it's like, I needed a job, and not that typical. I really wanted to help people. I mean, once you get here, that's what you do. But
Right.
But I needed a job.
Yeah.
So
Plain and simple.
yeah. So no, I
What
enjoyed my
years-
time here. So I'll
When
continue.
was your dad on?
My dad was on from 1966 to 98.
Okay.
So
Wow.
spent a lot of time out at Old Station 7, next to Jim's Burgers.
Yeah, up on Floyd there. Up
Was
the
that
boulevard a little
was
bit,
that
yeah.
more of a common thing then? Like guys that grew up in those areas just ended up at those stations,
I think he was actually just kind of a pain, so he moved him into the out stations.
So it was one of those things. Huh?
Old
Okay.
Riverside, the old Station 8 on Riverside, the one that sits back off the boulevard. It's still there, the building, but I can't find it every time I go by. And then Old Station 2 down at the airport.
Okay.
I think they had a total of like 15 runs a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I'm putting my card in for that
Yeah.
next.
How do I get signed up for that?
but no, I've enjoyed my time in Sioux City. Obviously, I'll continue to be in this area, and maybe a few less winters or something like that. But yeah, it's in my hometown.
So did you test for fire right out of high school, or did you do some college, or what? What was your path there?
Well, I did everything in reverse.
Gotcha.
So I graduated in 1981. I know most of you weren't even born, except maybe you, Paul.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I was for it. Like,
Yes, I
oh, yeah,
was.
because you were like, yeah,
Anyways, moving on.
But 1981, I thought I'd try my hand in college. I went to Briarcliff for about 6 weeks,
Okay.
and I decided this is not for me right now. So I ended up having a child right away and getting married, and I mean literally that next year, and working grocery store jobs that I had, and yeah, no, 6 weeks of college, and then once I got on the fire department, that's when I did my college. So I did the family first, and then the education. Everybody does the education
Yeah.
and the family, but mine's reverse. But yeah, and it worked out in the end. You get to the same spot. So
Sure.
but that's why my kids are older. With my current wife and her kids, I basically have a range of kids from 17 to 42. So
Wow.
Wow.
so
Nice.
quite a wide range.
Yeah.
So
How many in total?
5.
Five.
Five, yep.
Between the two of you. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So not quite the Brady Bunch, but But yeah. But yeah, I was working in a grocery store, which it was it was all right. It was a fun job, but it doesn't pay the bills that well. So time to look for something else. I did test for the police department. I'm not even sure how I did there. I obviously didn't make it, but I didn't make the list. But then the fire department testing opportunity came up, and I did well. I got on the list, but back then they used to have 2 lists, a list of 10 and a backup list that they would activate when the first list was exhausted. So we did that, and somewhere I was hired last off that list, and I blame my dad for that too. So,
Yeah.
just, going back to that pain comment, they didn't like him, so they obviously didn't like me. So, and I tell him that too. So
Sure.
if he's listening,
Just in case he forgets, like, hey.
what going to college or just trying that out? What did you like? I guess originally go to school for? Try to go to school. Also, if you try to watch your hands, just bumping the mic stand. We pick that up a little bit.
Okay.
We get you a fidget spinner or something if you want, or you can hold Devin's hand. That keep you busy and stuff. But
Okay.
But no, like what did you try going to school for originally?
I actually love math and counting. I thought counting, that's numbers and all that, and so I was actually looking for an accounting degree, which, looking back, I'm glad I didn't do.
Yeah.
So, but life experiences it leads you in different directions. So they're all valuable lessons. It kind of helps teach my kids a little bit more. Guiding them. So, but
Did your dad try to push you to the fire department, or push you away from the fire department, or did he stay neutral?
Well, my mom told me I was never going to be a fireman. You're going to go to MIT. Well, I proved her wrong.
Yeah.
Showed her, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know what MIT is, but no, my dad is weird. We didn't have a bad relationship. I just didn't really talk to him.
Yeah.
So it was just there wasn't any push one way or another. But I tested, and then once I made the list, I know he knew the ins and outs of the hiring process and things like that. So he knew that I was due to get hired because of the number of openings that were available, and then the time frame that they had to hire people within 90 days, I believe it was. So he knew that. But my dad's not much of a communicator, so he'll tell you something. He doesn't give you the background behind something, so you have to kind of figure it out anyway on your own. So,
Yeah.
but no, it worked out good, and like I said, I knew the schedule. I knew he had the same schedule, except really early in my life, he had something like, I think he had like a Kelly day. They would go in at 6 at night and work the comm center with, I don't know what they called it.
Switchboard then,
Switchboard or
yeah.
something back at Old Station 1 on Water Street. So they had some things like that where they go in at 6 at night. I just remember that. But
Was that still the 2 platoon system when he was on, or was he, or had they picked up that third? Because when did the third platoon come on?
I want to say that was in the 70s. That's when we
Yeah.
had a lot of growth. So it might have been. But he started in 66. but being I was only 3 years old then, I don't remember a lot about that. So,
what do you? I guess growing up then, because you coming from being a generational firefighter, and you being on a couple years, that the fire department, the old talking to like Troba and Tro's dad talking to Steve and stuff, and just their memories or Tro's memories of the fire department growing up. I mean, I guess, did you spend a lot of time at the firehouse? Did you do things? Was your dad involved with stuff? I mean, what do you remember, I guess, as a kid? Because some guys are like, Dad went to work and that was it.
Right.
Like, you talk to, some guys hung out, some guys didn't.
It's funny. I remember, at one of the other stations my dad worked at was old Station 9 on 27th and Chambers, which is now, I think, some sort of engineering or
something, yeah.
office or something like that. And I remember we lived right up the street about 4 blocks, and I remember taking my bike down there to, bringing lunch once in a while, or we would go to old Station 1 on Water Street. And certain nights, maybe a Friday night, we'd go to that Scotty's restaurant, which is now the Butcher. Butcher thing right there by Station 1. And we'd pick up supper and bring it to him. But my mom always said my dad never really talked about the work. He left work at work, and he didn't really talk about much. So when I got on, it was funny. My mom would always ask me questions. She said, "Well, your dad never really talked about this stuff." I didn't really care. I'll talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So it was kind of funny that way. So, but he had a few hunting buddies from the job. One was Don McPeak, an old deputy chief, and I remember seeing him and didn't know much about him from the job. Just he'd come around the house once in a while. My dad and him would go hunting, and that'd be it. But when I got on the job, I remember Don McPeak was still on the job, but I think he was in seeking a pension, or he was off for some disability thing. And somebody started talking about him and said, kind of said, well, he's not the greatest guy here on it's to work with. He's really kind of by the book. I said, I've seen this guy, and I know my dad wouldn't hang around somebody that was like that. He said, oh no, he's a great guy off the job, but on the job, you didn't cross him,
Right. Right.
So, but that's really the extent of it. I just know my dad went to work every, when I remember, every third day. And that was my mom's shopping day. That was my day to get in trouble because my mom wouldn't tell my dad if I did something stupid. So
Perfect.
So it worked out great.
Perfect setup. Yeah.
When my dad retired, I thought, wow, they're going to get divorced. I don't think they can tolerate that. And then my mom started working then because she never worked when I was growing up. So
And then she went to work when
she
Dad
went to
came
work
home.
when Dad retired. It's like, oh, okay, that works out, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it was. Didn't know a lot about it, but go through the station once in a while and visit him at old Station 7 on Floyd there. Had a car issue one time. I remember pulling it into the back end of the station, and they were looking at it. A couple guys came out. One was, I do remember, Dick Hageman, and my dad and somebody else at that station. They looked at it and, firehouse mechanics, that kind of thing. So. But yeah, just visiting stations every once in a while, but really not a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah,
Not
nothing
if you had a
extraordinary.
fire or anything like that. I didn't really talk about it. So.
Did your dad drive, or was he a third, or?
A driver for most of the time I remember. I'm sure he was third, but I think he was a good driver.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he really had the ambition to test to get promoted or anything like that. I think he had the ability, but I just don't think he wanted to do that and take that responsibility. So. But I think he was viewed as a good driver.
Good.
So, which we need good drivers.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you talk about testing, you came on when? When did you test?
I came on in 1986, so.
Okay.
But I think the test was a year or two before that because I got hired last off the list, so.
Sure. So walk us through the testing process back then and what it was like kind of versus what it is now.
A lot really. Well, there's been a few things added now, but we still had the written test. And I remember I tell people when they ask me, well, what's the written test like? And it's like, I look at it as kind of easy brain teasers. I remember one little question you had, and it showed you a little diagram and a map of some streets, and one was blocked off, and you had to go from point A to point B, the station to the fire, and you can't go against, violate any traffic laws, so you had to find the quickest route, or you had a picture of these gears, and they were turning different directions, and so you had to figure out this gear's turning here, and this one's all meshed to all these other gears. Which way will this one be turning? That was just a few that I can remember. And no, I mean, it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything too difficult. And then, of course, you had the. I don't know if we did the physical next or if that was last. It seemed like we did the physical in between that and between the written or the physical ability between the written and the oral. And ours was just. It wasn't like the CPAT is today or anything like that. It was. I remember pulling a rolled up hose on a rope over the side of from the top of the old tower that we had. What else? Dragging a dummy, that kind of thing. But it wasn't the stations like we have with the CPAT now, so it's a little different. It was probably just more physically demanding and things like that. But
similar to the combat challenge type of test.
More like that. Yeah. And got through that. A little lighter then. And then the oral test, and it's just those hypothetical questions, and why do you want to be a fireman? I remember the one. Was one question. You're hired. You're with your company officer, and you do a commercial inspection. You go into some store and you see your officer swipe a candy bar, and what do you do? Well,
I better take one too if he's doing it. I better follow your officer.
Follow his lead.
And it's that hypothetical, damned if you do, damned if you don't question.
Yes.
Because if you say one thing, they're going to say, well, you're going to turn him in. He's a 20-year guy. You're going to ruin his career. So then you switch gears again, and then you go another way, and it's like, you wouldn't say anything? No.
Right.
I don't know what the right answer was. I give up. But so and that was basically it. And then of course if you did get hired, you had your actual medical physical. But so a lot of really hasn't changed. I mean, like I said, we have a few more added components. The CPAT has added some level of, I guess, consistency to fairness and consistency for everyone. So
How many people tested?
We had a lot.
Yeah.
I remember it seemed like the number was around 400.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so around 400. Now we can't even get close to 100.
Right, and I know that we've talked to a few people about that. What it was like then versus now, and that seems to be the big thing that jumps out is having 200, 300, 400 people test versus like you said having to.
So this is one of the best that you get out of that 400, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The cream of the crop, baby.
Rises to the top.
There we go.
Yep. What? So then, come on your old threes for training, yeah?
Yep.
So was at that point, was the tower, the 18th Street Tower, was that a thing, or was it the training tower behind old threes?
They still had some resemblance of a tower behind old threes, but we used the tower on 18th Street. I remember that we had to climb the old aerial ladder that went like this when you got to the top.
Oh, yeah.
We had to do that during our first 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks orientation back then.
Wow.
And we had to do that, climb to the top and say hi to everybody or something. I don't know. I'm not a heights person. I'm sure a few people know that. I'm not a heights person. I joke that I got promoted because I don't want to climb a ladder.
Right.
So, but I did what I had to do. And we trained out there quite a bit. And old Station 3, that was a dump. Now it's Firehouse Bar. But I remember the second day of I was on 40 hours, obviously, that first 2 weeks. I came in that second day, and the old dingy kitchen you walked into, and I walked in, the place is just filled with smoke, cigarette smoke. You could smoke back then in the fire station. It was, I call it the old Vietnam boys.
Yeah.
They came back from Vietnam, they smoked over there, and I
Right.
get it, but it was, it was bad.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's just filled, and it's the kitchen area. And I remember the comment of somebody, and it just said, more adjective, probies.
Oh,
More effing probies. You know?
yeah. Welcome to the
It's
department.
like, oh.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, this is going to be a great day.
Happy to be here.
I just did what I had to do. So,
That's right.
but yeah, it was, station's pretty much like it the firehouse bar, other than the bar stuff they've added is old station. But you learned a lot, and a lot of good memories there too. So,
Who were the officers for you back then?
I remember Terry Schmidt was a captain, and Joel Van Meter, the lieutenant.
Wow.
I believe Mike Kyle was the driver for Joel on a truck. Larry Bliven was the driver on Engine 3 for Terry Schmidt. Myself and Al Kinsey were the probies,
Okay.
and we came on with Kerry DeRoshi and Ron Lenz.
Okay.
They were on the first shift, I believe. I don't even remember what shift I came on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been that long ago.
Yeah.
So we would, Al and I would spend a lot of time studying upstairs, and back then they had the old, I don't know if you guys have, any of you been upstairs at all?
Yeah.
The big open bedroom.
Yep.
And they always had you, most of the time, probies going to one of the captain's office and study at night. We had mandatory studying from 6:30 to 18:30 to 20:30 at night, mandatory studying.
Wow.
Now, Al will verify that we didn't do a lot of studying. We did a lot of bad mouthing of our officers and what they did that day. But, or we'd talk about how our day went, and we'd maybe study a little bit. But Al was pretty smart in some respects, and I was in other areas, and Al was more mechanical.
Did he have hair then?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. Somewhere when he started wearing that ball cap, it went away. I don't know what happened.
Rubbed it right off.
Yeah, he did have hair, kind of blondish hair. He wore a hat for about 5 years. First time he took it off, it scared me. Wow, where'd your hair go, Al? But yeah, no, that was good, and we got through it, and the rest is history. But a lot of good memory. I mean, I remember everything. I remember that big open bedroom. You guys got it spoiled. You're spoiled now. You got your cubicles and things like that, and everybody's snoring. Dan Lenz yelling in the middle of the night. Those type of things.
I always remember, I knew that floating out to Forest, one of the first times I knew what kind of underwear Joe Plucker wore, and I was like, I was like, because you're just sitting tight, just beds in a room. Ones was that way, sevens was that way, old fours. It wasn't until they started building the newer stations that then you started having the cubicles.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night, John
It
Boy.
was. So I mean, it's like seriously, you knew what the guy next to you was wearing, and what he slept in.
It was not always a good thing, was it?
You knew at 6:45 in the morning, before the 7 o'clock alert, that you'd hear somebody open up their Zippo lighter and do the clicks, click, 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 smoke before they actually even got dressed and got out of bed.
Before their feet even hit the floor.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty much it. And like I said, you could smoke. There was a lot of the blankets that the station provided, or the department provided. They'd have you'd have cigarette burns in some of them.
Vent holes for you.
Yeah.
That night.
Well,
that crazy?
Did you? Was that because when I came on, we still did it at old fours for a little bit, and then ones, just because like the Blivens, the Van Meters have been on forever, where we still brought our bunker with our pants, our bunker pants, and put them next to the bed. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And now knowing what we know,
Yeah.
this probably wasn't the best thing to do. But yeah, you did. You brought your rolled up boots and put them right next to the bed. And
I thought that was the coolest thing with the old guys. I mean, and like I said, it was a Bliven and Van Meter. Like the older guys, they would have them, and I'm like, that's neat.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll put my boots right here.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. And it was threes. I think Station 3 was the first one. Maybe and that was in 02, but that was that was plastered on every door, like no gear in the living quarters at all.
Yep.
And stuff. So I think threes was the first one to really make that transition, and then now we're at where we are, and even spoiled. You talk about spoiled, even more at eights with the individual
Your own
rooms.
room. That's
you got
crazy.
You're gonna have a whole generation of kids coming on that have no idea what it's like to just be have literally 2 feet between you and the guy next to you and stuff in a big room. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to coordinate how you got out of the bed that night, for a run.
Yeah, like
otherwise
which
you'd get up
way
and
are you going? Which
way
oh, this way you go that way. Yeah, I said you knew who was
bumping uglies or something and standing up.
Yep.
Well, and I had I followed 2 individuals that had just gotten let go. One was for some medical issues, and the other one could not wake up for alarms. And I know the guy's name, but could not wake up for alarms. They tried everything. Made him slide the pole for every alarm. He tried staying up all night. He tried, I don't know, whatever other tricks they had. And here I come, and they're telling me this story, and I'm, at that time, pretty heavy sleeper. And so I'm just like, oh, this is great.
God.
So, but I pretty sure I haven't ever missed an alarm.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe somebody's kicked my bed once, but
Sure.
Maybe a little late to the party, maybe.
maybe
but,
late,
yeah.
that first hour of sleep, that's tough. It's
Yeah.
What'd they say?
Yep.
But no, I've become a lot lighter sleeper. Somehow you teach yourself to do that, but that was one thing I was frightened of. I thought, I'm a heavy sleeper. I'm going to sleep through everything. But I didn't. So, yeah, there was some good
Yeah.
memories down there, too.
What was the rank structure, I guess, too? And I mean, of course, we had captains and lieutenants, but as far as the assistant chiefs, because we had a time where there was a deputy chief and
Yes.
some different as far as the administrative side of things.
Well, we had Chief Lovis. He was from Minneapolis. He spent a year with me, or I spent a year with him, I should say. And then, like I said, we had Deputy Chief with Don McPeak, but he was, like I said, I think he was off on some leave at that point, and then that's where Dick Sattel ended up getting that job. And Roland Klunder was our training officer our first week. And at the end of that first week, I remember he got the news he was getting moved out. He did not want to be in there. And so that's when we got Bob Hamilton was our training officer
wow.
for the rest of that year. And then Chief Lovis, at the end of it was basically on our 12th month probation evaluation. He was supposed to come down, and I got the news that morning. He said, yeah, Chief Lovis not going to be down here this morning. You didn't really ask a lot of questions, and you just kept your mouth shut, kid. And you find out later that he got let go. Oh, okay. So, all right. So
I passed this evaluation, right?
Yeah.
Am I good to go or what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's when they named it was Captain Hamilton then. They made him interim chief. I think it took a few months for that process or something. I don't know how that transpired, but and then eventually he got the big chief as a result. And so, and then we got let's see, when Hamilton left, then I think then Terry Schmidt took the training job after Hamilton got moved into the chief's job permanently, which was probably in early 1988. Because 87 Lovis would have left. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But Chief would come down once in a while and see how the probies were doing. We had a captain, kind of the same thing. Captain, lieutenant in the station, double house, that type of thing. Not a lot's changed as far as the rank structure. We've lost. Gained a few people in on the floater. Of the floater pool on each end of each shift, or maybe we've had a deputy chief that finally went away, and then we gained a PIO, lost a PIO, those type of things, but not a lot as far as the shift ranks.
That deputy chief, what was kind of like their roles? Was it, I mean, did they go on responses or more administrative, kind of like what Jim Clark's with that admin AC kind of was it more like that, or?
Yeah, I understand it was more administrative. I didn't see him on calls, but back then you may have a chief show up on a scene, and I don't know if they ever took command. I don't think they did back then, but you see them on a maybe a serious type fire every so often. So, but
Do you remember your first fire on probation?
I remember driving to my first fire where I had
Sure.
to pump.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
You
sense.
feel really confident.
Yeah.
And you're going, and I think it was just two of us. Larry Bliven, that was right after probation. Larry Bliven and I were just two men, and small fire, but still like, okay, I got to pump, don't mess up, And going through probation, I felt fairly confident, but then when you get that first, you really need the skills, like, oh geez, but I did fine. I don't remember my first fire, but I do remember after getting my my invite or my hiring letter, seeing the Felton Seed building after I got hired and I was going to come on. No, that was when I was on probation, sorry. But it was on an off shift. It was a Felton Feed fire where the Hard Rock sits now in that area.
Okay.
And somebody was talking about a fire. I went down there on my day, just drove down on like 3rd Street, and you could see from a long ways away. It was the largest fire I've ever seen. Some of those large fires you see on the news.
Yeah.
That was it. It's like, wow. That was incredible. That thing was burning from the inside out all the way through the roof, and 4 or 5-story building. And I thought, wow, that's pretty amazing. So, but I don't really remember my first fire. I probably should have been like Dusty and wrote some of these things down. But
I was gonna say,
I think
being
he
on
still writes his stuff.
30 plus years, they're gonna melt together at some point where you're like,
well, they always tell you when you kind of come on probation is like, hey, you should keep a notebook. How many guys actually do?
Right.
Yeah.
To which I say, I think that's a horrible idea because some of that stuff you don't want to remember.
True.
That's me.
Yeah, and that's the ones I do. That's the ones I do remember.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Did they have a like a CRR or fire prevention bureau there, and what kind of? I mean, I guess we would have had a fire marshal, but what did they have for the bureau? I guess at that point.
We had it was fire prevention bureau, just the bureau, and I remember Pete. Was it Pete McCrory? Jim McCrory.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry. Before him, it was guy always walked to his house. He walked from the old Threes to like 23rd Street. Pete, I can't remember his last name. He was the first fire marshal I remember, and then Jim McCrory took over at some point, and then there was a captain and a lieutenant, I believe, in there. Was the fire prevention bureau, just the 3 folks. Pretty much it. And they each had I think they each took a shift of investigations and that type of thing. So so that hasn't changed a whole lot. Other than we've added some. I think that's why the PIO position was absorbed as a lieutenant so we have the 2 lieutenants now. That hasn't changed a lot.
I guess did Patty call you to offer you the job?
Jeez.
Patty was there, yes.
Yeah, she was, really.
And I think she did. I got a letter as well, which I don't even know if I have that letter, but I'm sure I do somewhere. I have a tote at home of all my fire department stuff, and someday my kids will probably care enough to look and then throw it away.
Hopefully, yeah.
Stuff, but it might be in there. I don't know.
Yeah. That's why so many people are like, did Patty call you? Yep.
Patty, the call from Patty.
The call from Patty.
I think she did. It's been a while, but I think she did.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to ask, when you were truckie or engineman?
Oh, engine all the way.
Engine all the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me that hose in the water. I'll go in anytime. I'm much safer there, right? And I don't like heights, right?
Yeah.
Why would I want a ladder?
That makes
Stupid
sense.
question. Yeah.
But I did what I had to do. But I loved the nozzle and going in and things like that.
Yeah.
I remember a fire with Pat Flynn. I was out at Station 7. He was lieutenant, and it was a house. Had a house fire pulled up. You can see it was clearly coming out of a bedroom window alongside of a driveway. And when I was a kid, I grew up in the house right next door. I said, "Oh, I've been in this house." He gave me, usually he liked to take the lead and go in, and you'd back him up. And he gave me the nozzle and said, "Go ahead." Oh, I knew right where I was going.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And go in there.
Nice.
We knocked it down. It was great because I knew right where I was going. Because that's the biggest thing is trying to find the fire half the time. So, and that also was a fire where you came in for the front door. The house was more linear from front to back, and you could see through the back door. And it was so amazing that smoke layer had dropped down. And I put my head down. I could see all the way to the back door. They had the back door open to see the light coming in. And you put your head up just a foot, and it's like it's total blackness. It was like I kept doing this. Like that is cool.
Hey, let's go.
But
Hold on.
yeah, we did the crawl. And then you made sure you crawled, and we got in there and knocked the fire down, and it went well. But just little things like that I remember, and
Was everyone wearing masks
Yeah, I was
back
gonna
then
say, yeah.
when you
Was
came
it
on?
SCBA,
Or were there guys that still...
I got a story on that too.
Let's hear it.
Towards the end of my probation, you got to realize I worked, you worked with some of the older officers I've been around a while. They didn't have SCBA when they started. So that was a change for some of them. So Terry Schmidt, I remember we went up on West First on the Bluffs, somewhere in there. And we had a mattress fire. And we went in and we had masks. And well, back then they were in the box or hanging on the door. I don't remember what they were. And we went in and we grabbed that mattress, pulled it out, and I'm hacking and wheezing. My eyes are tearing up, my throat is whatever. And I'm thinking, why didn't we wear those masks that are on the rig?
Yeah.
But that's a guy that was used to doing that.
He probably lit up a cigarette after to get some
and
fresh
that was
air.
another thing.
Not during. Yeah.
Just,
We spent
that's better.
20
Man.
minutes in a fire protecting our lungs, and the first thing you did was you see some of the older guys come out on the
Every
fire,
time.
they're lighting up a cigarette.
Every
Like,
time.
There's something wrong with this picture.
Yep.
So,
Every time.
but yeah, it's SCBA was I had it ever since. In fact, we were one of the. I don't know how long before, but where you did the 10 shifts of wearing SCBA doing housework.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to do a bathroom stall and you're banging off the walls. I think that was punishment more than anything.
right.
But I get it.
So after probation and you started, floating, and most of us, did you still get like a fourth man on the truck then at that point, or did you kind of get to more of a third man spot right away?
No, I did do fourth. Yep, I floated for a long time. And part of that reasoning, I was getting close to being done floating, and they cut 3 personnel, which set me back about 2 years.
Wow.
And
What was that?
Ouch.
What was that feeling like
Ouch,
watching guys get cut? Were you like, well, I might have to look for something else?
Well, somewhere around the time we were on probation, there was rumors of, we need to cut so many people. Well, it was one of those that it was discussed, but in the end, it was never executed. So we were, it was like, oh great, they're going to whack from the bottom, and we're within that range of people. So yeah, you're kind of worrisome. I didn't realize then that probably would have continued to, cut through attrition instead of just cutting off the bottom. But you never know; they could just say, "Hey, you're gonna cut 5 people right now." So yeah, it was a little worrisome. I finally get a good job, and now they're going to whack me off the bottom here. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's you're kind of especially when you have a family. Like I said, I started my family first and did my education later. So you worry about it. And we were doing a lot of public education, whereas getting people involved, and hey, we can't afford to lose firefighters and that kind of thing. So in the end, we didn't lose any at that particular time. But when I was floating, probably 5 years into it, we lost the Car 19 drivers back then, and that set us back lost 3 positions. So I didn't move up for another 2 years to a fourth then I went to Truck 1 as a fourth. And so anyway, and Station 1 at that time, we had some interesting folks, and played volleyball in the 5th bay, and if you ever look up at the heaters on the ceiling, they're all banged up. Well, that's from volleyball. But we had a lot of good times, and down at Station 1, and then I don't know if I can't remember if I moved to 3rd then or where I went, but I spent a year or 2 down there, and ended up going to I drove Engine 3 for a little bit. I made a promotional list with just short of 10 years, and I got promoted. I didn't end up driving very long, and then went out to Station 7. So spent 6 years there and got promoted to captain. Went out to Station 8, Phil, and spent 4 years, and I got promoted to AC in 2006. So
06.
Wow.
6, yeah. Yep.
That's a long run for an AC. That's,
Too long.
Too long.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah, that's.
I don't know. Fire Marshal Asoff said something like that. I think it would be about a limit of 10 years as a staff officer, and I thought he was nuts at the time. But like maybe he's right.
There's something to that. Yeah.
It might be. I don't know. But no, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed that I've enjoyed each position I've had. It's learning opportunities. And
What pushed you to promote right away? Did you always have that in your mind, or did you?
Well, no. I always talked about floating as being the floundering time in my career because you're really not assigned anywhere. I did have kind of an affinity towards hazmat because I liked the people that were involved there. It was stationed at Station 7 then. I grew up in Leeds.
Right.
So I liked the area. The call volume was, just moderate. It wasn't like, now they have a lot more of the assisted living and things like that. So they get a fair amount of calls now. I mean, back then, a fair amount of calls, but not like really like it is now. So I liked staying in hazmat for that reason. What was the question?
What pushed you to promote in general?
Yeah. I spent a fair amount of time floating. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, and then I got out to hazmat. Worked with some officers that I kind of respected, and I thought, well, there's a lot of people here I don't like working for. And it's like,
what?
Why can't I just be one of them? Why can't I be the guy that nobody likes to work for?
Yeah,
So that's what it was. It really wasn't even money driven.
That's a big motivator. Yeah.
I won't really say
Yeah.
here what I usually say. It's like, I don't want to work for that idiot.
Yeah.
But no, I really did. It was motivation. It's like, I can do that job,
Yeah.
And there's things I see that you disagreed with, and it's like, but you just do it because that's what you do. But in the end, I thought I can do that, So that's kind of what it was, and then people learn. It's the first step is the hardest one, as you found out.
Yeah, definitely.
And probably you, probably you. I don't know. And me too.
Yeah.
But I think once you make that, and it becomes a little easier. You understand the role better, and then moving up to say a captain level, that's it's a little bit more to it, and but you've already been exposed to leadership and being a company officer and things like that.
So definitely not as, I don't want to say big a step to captain, but not as intimidating probably, or
no,
you just kind of have a flow.
Yeah, because in the end, you're going to go back to, you're going to still be in charge of a crew. I mean, if you don't get that next step, okay, I'm not like I'm losing my job.
There you go.
So, it's that was really, honestly, it wasn't even money driven. I mean, I'm not going to turn down money. Don't get me wrong, but it was because I wanted to be the person that, this is what I can tell people what to do, and I to lead people. I guess that's the correct term, but there's certain folks I didn't really care to work for that much. So
Yeah.
It's a good motivator.
I think I can do a better job. In the end. I mean, there's a lot of. Don't get me wrong. And those folks that are listening, I don't know, but there was a lot of folks I did really enjoy and I really respected. So you pick up, you obviously pick up good traits from good officers and things not to do from officers you don't really feel are the strongest, to put it kindly.
Yeah.
So, but.
Yep. So as an assistant chief, for those that don't know, we have three. Just briefly describe what outside of incident command, what the role of each assistant chief is and what your role is right now.
That's a big secret.
Yeah.
It is a big secret.
Well,
Nobody knows.
The Department Illuminati.
It's not on here. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
well,
No.
What do you say?
They always draw a pyramid when they're describing stuff,
Yeah,
like
it
the
has to do with the
CCP,
pyramid
DME. I'm just saying.
And
just
they're
saying.
really busy. That's all you need
Well,
to
there
know.
is the secret door in the AC's bunk room to go to like another
basement?
secret room in the back.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
there's,
right.
So, what they got going on there.
That's where
well, it's for each one of us. We have the three of us. We have our specialized. Chief Everett kind of set it up where you had your specialties, and then as you move up from the third assistant chief, you move up to the second. You take over their responsibilities to kind of well round you in those different areas. When I got in there, I had Pat Flynn, and I want to say
It's Jim Allen, wasn't it?
I took over for Jim. Jim had left a month
So was
before
it
I got it.
Rich Ewell.
Richie, I think, got it. And then after Rich left, I think Brad came over.
Yep, from USAR.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I had those folks. And you still kind of inherited, I guess, the stuff they didn't want to do. so doing these reports and things like that. But for me, I've got fire operations, so that's oversight of training, and purchases, fire equipment. As far as actual maybe policies or things that go along with training, we talk. The three of us will kind of talk about things, and there's certain things you talk about at a staff level because it affects the whole department. So sometimes you want to get the whole staff input. But other things, that are just your areas of responsibility, you have oversight of that. There's a lot of things that come up through the day that you have to handle that day. Other things, obviously, you can push off till another day because time just gets to you. But I know a lot of people don't always see the ins and outs, and I know you've been exposed to it too a little bit. Not so much with our projects or our areas of responsibilities, but just sometimes you get a phone call and that can just really set you back a couple of hours. Like, oh, I hit a tree with the truck. It's like, oh, great. Okay, let's go out and get some pictures. You got to make some phone calls and all that stuff. Things that come up, and that happens for company officers too. I realize that. So. But yeah, we have, AC Kelleher is in charge of EMS and obviously getting the standbys and things like that. And, he's got, and AC Fulton's got special ops, so he's in charge of right now, I think getting boat one back. I just heard him talking about that this morning, getting that ready to go for the season. And, AC Kelleher has hazmat still. So
which is hard for a guy that's never been in hazmat. So he really kind of lets DJ and I he relies heavily on us, and he's good for that because he's like, and he'll be honest with you. He's like, I don't know,
Well,
he's not been a hazmat guy. So
it was kind of like when I took over special ops. I don't know the first thing
No
about
idea.
this stuff, and I'm not climbing off a building on a rope either.
Yeah.
So,
But,
go ahead.
No, that's fine. Just there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that you don't always see. Now, there's days that are busier than others, obviously, but I think the three of us, and probably before Kevin, maybe with Dan, we would bounce things off each other through text and things like that. I just sent a text the other day on some things like, are we staffing this? No, are we doing it this way? Or are we doing that? Or do we change it? Because, there's a lot of dynamic things that are happening. So it's like, you can't always remember how we're doing it. And Kevin would get back, yeah, we're still doing it that way. So we communicate probably a lot more than I remember in the past. I mean, well, back then, Pat didn't have, he claimed he didn't have a cell phone until I heard his pocket ringing one day. Sure. Walking out the door, I said, I think your pocket's ringing. Oh, it's a cell phone that you claim you never had.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. But no, there's those areas of responsibility, which on the surface don't seem like a lot, but it's just the daily duties and things like that come with it, and there's always something that comes up and stuff. So, but sorry, you were.
Yeah, no, that's okay. You had mentioned something about projects that you have. Is there one? Like all of your time as an assistant chief, is there a particular project that stands out that you really like hang your hat on, or you're super proud of, or what's your biggest accomplishment in that aspect?
Well, I'm looking around this blue card room, but
blue card?
You can blame me for that a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was kind of mine, and Dave Buchheit had brought it forward too, as an idea, and we kind of delved into it a little bit more. And I looked at it as, we have incident command, the boxes, this guy's in charge, this guy's, he reports to who and all that. But we really didn't have an incident management system. I remember being taught something years ago. That was the only time we ever had any sort of incident management. And this kind of went down that road. Now, I think there's still some areas we can still, get a little bit better on, but use all the components of it. But I think we're there, at least. I remember hearing, somebody do an on-scene report. Well, we've got a type 3 construction with that. How do you know until you look inside what it is? That didn't tell me what it was, what it is. Like a Walmart's a Walmart. We've all been in a Walmart, but when we say that, so simpler is better. But I think the other thing, I went into truck 3, the new truck 3 that we have. That was mine to spec out and go through that process. Granted, and you would know, there's a few glitches, a few rougher ride, I hear, that kind of thing. But, there wasn't like a magical class I could go to. And it's like, well, this is how you build one. And there are some people that will have some insight and you can learn from them. But I don't know. I'm just going to take a stab at this.
That's how for your retirement years, start your own classes on this is how you do this and this is how you do this at the staff level.
Yeah,
you can be a consultant. You can get
that.
flown across the country, play golf in every state, and just be a consultant for people that are doing that kind of stuff.
If you ask my wife, I have a lot of things going on. I'm going to run for president in 2028.
Okay.
Nice.
I've got a lot. She said, you got a lot of things going on here. I said, when I retire, I'm going to do this.
Maybe you should start as mayor of Pensacola or something like that first.
Start with that.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
But, I think the rig project, so, you're spending $1 million of the money, the city's money. You kind of want to get it right, or as close to right. Now, granted, I know there's a few things that we would probably change. And the 4 engines, the 4 newest engines we have, I'm pretty proud of those. Other than the rear differentials that we didn't put on there, but we've got that rectified now.
That's how you learn.
So the next ones are going to be.
Yep.
They should be. That's Kelleher's. That's all Kelleher. So, but I like the look of them. I liked we got a lot of good input, and we did the tours of the factories of the vendors that build them, and we did a lot of research, and I don't hear a lot of complaints about them, so. I really like those. The active shooter with the RTF, the Rescue Task Force. I worked with back then. It was Captain. I believe he's Captain. I don't know what he was. Maybe he was Sergeant. I don't know. Chief Mueller.
Yep.
Back then. It was kind of handed off onto him. It was kind of handed off onto me. We worked together and kind of opened the door for that communication between PD and fire a little bit more. And I think we talked to each other a little bit more. So I kind of like those. I like to hang my hat on those and kind of pursued that, and probably a few other things.
Yeah.
But
No, good.
What's in your almost 20 years now as an assistant chief, you look back and think of what's kind of maybe one of your biggest calls or something that you've been in command of, whether it's fire or EMS or just anything that sticks out as this was. Or something that stretched you to your wit's end or stretch you to your limit as far as,
Oh, no, they're all easy.
Yeah.
I kind of looked at. There's probably several. I mean, at any time to me, there's life safety, and I'm not talking about ours. Ours is always present in the front of my mind. I've always said if I burn down a city block but we don't hurt anybody, it's a success, because we didn't burn down 2 city blocks,
Right.
But I really mean that. I really don't want to get anybody seriously hurt. I know we do have some injuries that happen, but I mean that's always in the front of my mind. So, but anytime we have civilian life safety as a it comes in, we might have people involved inside in a structure fire, that will put you on the edge a little bit, because you want to make you have a limited amount of time to make a difference on their outcome. So I think back to some of the ones that we have made a difference, and some of the ones that obviously didn't come out the way we wanted them to. Then those stay with you a little bit. I think back to one that we had 2 older gentlemen upstairs. I think it was on West 15th Street, probably 3, 4, or 5 years ago. We made an attack hard from the yard on the 2nd floor, hit it, knocked it down, gave that truck crew time to get up there and got those 2 gentlemen out alive. One subsequently did perish, but he has, my understanding, did have some underlying medical issues anyway. But you feel good when you hopefully make a difference, in somebody's outcome. Obviously, the ones that don't, you think, could I have done something better, or could we have done something to make an outcome? And most of the time, you realize that sometimes their fate was already determined before you got there.
Right.
But those always, as a whole, will always kind of put you, on edge somewhat more. I've always said, it's a whole different fire when I know I've got everybody out. I mean, it makes it a whole. Now we're just dealing with property.
Sure.
You know. But you know, there's been some larger fires. You know, I made the cover of George's book. The Normandy was mine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We were at that one.
It comes
That
out
was-
and it's like, oh, that's the Normandy. That was
Yep.
mine. Probably the one I would say just is Glen Oaks Apartments.
Which time?
Yeah.
That was, I'm 2-1 there, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I was to say,
I've won
which
2 wins and
which
1
time?
loss.
Yeah.
That was, we burnt down 12 units of the 24 units, and the only reason we didn't burn the other 12 because there was a
The
firewall
firewall,
between.
right. So that was the one that super cold where the hydrants were
Yes.
frozen, right? Yeah,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
one was
We went-
that was an awful morning.
And don't forget, Captain DeBont fell off the ladder.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
that's
hope he's
right.
listening.
Yep.
It's like,
I saw that like in slow motion. That was like that was
Oh.
crazy to, and the sound of what it sounded like when he hit the ground, just that, and then
saw-
just that groaning of just him going, like if
Sorry,
his
Tom.
leg, when that came down, if his knee or if his leg hadn't caught
Yeah.
the windowsill on the way down, he would have blown out his hips or busted his femurs and stuff. But it clipped him enough that it turned him sideways, so he kind of landed on his side
Yeah,
more,
and not
But
on
had
his tank.
not on his tank. But if he had come straight down, because it was, and then here's Ohms up in the window, like holding the like looking down, like, what am I supposed to do?
push it.
Like,
I didn't
you know,
push
he
it.
was waiting for that hose light. He's, you know, and he's because they're up there to do some exposure protection and stuff, and Ohms is sitting there like, so you still had a guy up there that's waiting for a hose line,
Yeah.
you know, and he's got fire on the other side of the hallway.
Yeah.
You've got this dude on the ground like that needs medical attention. You know, frozen hydrants. It was a gnarly scene
mess.
for a little while that morning. It was
That's
busy.
that's a fun one in the car, isn't it?
yeah, you get
Got guys
there,
falling off ladders and buildings
Yeah.
burning down and
And a lot of buildings
guys
too.
separated.
I mean, not just a
You're
little
like, oh,
bit.
this is good.
Well, it's early. I mean, early morning. I say early, but you know, 6:30ish.
Yeah.
Cold. I want to say it was around 15 below, somewhere in that range.
It was cold. Every hydrant was frozen.
Frozen or broke.
Yep.
We ended up. They ended up dragging about. I guess estimate about 700 feet through the snow down to Glen Oaks Boulevard to
Yep.
get finally water supply. And the worst part is they had the fire darkened down on the second floor balcony to a point where it was like, okay, it's darkened down, but then it flared up because we didn't have enough
So you
water to
couldn't
finish
get
the job. It took off on us, and you know, the 12 units were gone. DeBont fell off the ladder.
Yeah.
And I turned around just in time to see the bounce of him, which, you know, and, you know, the most helpless feeling for a firefighter is not having water. And it really is. It's like we're useless for the most part. And I remember Chief Everett came up. You know, that's one where a chief did come up, and he and I think the city had offered some city bus, or the comm center said, hey, get some city buses to get these people moved somewhere. And Chief Everett comes up and goes, well, how's it going? I said, not worth a fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And exactly what I told him. He said, anything I can do for you. I said, you probably better go up to the ER and check on DeBont. You know, and I don't know. I assumed he did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Was that in 2014?
I was driving
Engine 4?
fours. I was driving engine 4 then because I know we're helping. Chrissy was still there because she was on engine 7. So I was helping her get water.
Because I want to say
remember.
that happened
And
right before I
Darwin and Chrissy were
got hired, like right before Normandy, and that one kind of happened right before, and I was like, oh man.
On the hydrants, and they're all
It's
and
the
they're
real
deal.
and they're private hydrants up there too. So you go to connect it, and all of a sudden it was like, why is it? It's not going on. And it was like, and then you look at the threads, and it's like, oh, these are private hydrants. And then it's trying to run to a truck, trying to run someplace to get an adapter to do stuff, and then you couldn't get. There wasn't nothing for water pressure coming out. I mean, it was, you couldn't get nothing for water. I think engine 7, I finally got maybe a 2.5 or 3 inch line to engine 7, and even that was squishy. And it was like there was no like cross connect, and it just it was rough for a while.
And the worst part about the ladder situation was I wanted them to go up to check the 3rd floor, but there were interior stairs that were isolated from the hallways. Because I used to live in one of those buildings, so they're all built the same. And I meant for him just to take the interior stairway, and instead he stacked the ladder. I was doing something else, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean to go up that way.
Yeah.
Holmes said he was up there watching Today's Show. Somebody left the TV on, and he said, waiting for DeBont to come on. I was like, where's he at?
Yeah.
You know, but
He didn't make it up.
no. But it was probably the most frustrating fire. And I'm probably, neglecting a few. But anytime that you have a fatality or something like that. First time I ever had a fatality fire was actually 2 people, which it's not one, it's actually, 2, and so those are always tough.
Yeah.
And then,
That's got to be a whole different feeling when you're in command too.
yeah.
It's just, you're a line guy, you're like, oh shit, that happens, you know. But when you're in command, you're like, I've been trying everything to throw at this thing, and still that's the outcome. So I can't, imagine that. But
The only other one I kind of remember was we had a house fire around, I want to say at 10:30, 11 at night on West 4th Street, somewhere in the 2200, 2300 block. Fully involved house. Of course, all the West Side crews went over there. 4 minutes later.
Oh, that was the
4 minutes.
I was first in on that West
Center
4th
Street
one.
fire.
Oh, yeah.
And so then you had the other resources coming from other parts of town to that 3-year-old child that was in that house.
Yep.
And so 4 minutes dispatch. I don't remember ever having 2 basically fully involved house fires within that short span.
And within not a crazy distance from each other either when you look at it.
So I want to say, I remember
That was right next to Ben Fish.
If they said they essentially drove down Hamilton past the one fire going to the other fire.
Yeah.
And I came back in on overtime and was on the truck and went to Center Street.
And,
but yeah, that was crazy.
And it was. I talked to the comm center when I was on West 4th. She came in and said that, or called on the radio and said that we have another fire over here on Center Street, and it was just one of those gut feelings. I said, you know what? I said, let's get some overtime crews. And I didn't know what we even had there yet, and I said, you just had that gut feeling something's going on. And that's, like you said, you came out on overtime. I said we need 10 people to fill the reserve rigs we have, and fortunately it was the right call. It didn't make a difference in the outcome on the Center Street, but those are tough. You wish, would he have made a difference? I don't know. I don't think so, but based on what I know, but those are tough anytime you have fatality. So
hard not to second guess yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
Was it hard for you as an AC going from on the streets, as it were, as a captain, to going to AC? Was there a transition where it was kind of hard for you to step back and let other guys take over, or did it just kind of come naturally to you to turn over that control, if you will?
No, it was a period of it's different. It's different to stand there and that's your job. That's why you're there. Incident commander, stay outside, be the eyes and ears on the outside. There's times I wanted to grab the nozzle and go in because I was, like I said, engine guy, right?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of truck guys out there, but I'm an engine guy, sorry.
Yep.
No,
Me too. Screw those truck guys. They're dumb.
Yeah, idiots.
Throw them under the bus. No, it is. At times there's like, hurry up. Well, I'm going to grab that nozzle and just knock it down, It was, but, and I'd still love to do it. I'd still go in. I've talked with some of the folks at ones. I said, I'm going to follow you to an EMS call just because you can't, can't make this stuff up.
Right.
You see some different things. So it's, no, it's a transition. It's something mentally, but, you just, you learn to adapt, and that's not your job anymore. So, yeah.
Do you know, you almost 20 years, do you know who the longest serving, who was the longest AC?
I know Pat Flynn was in there a good around 18 years as well. I don't know some of the guys like, maybe Orwell Teeley or Everett Meyer or Grant Mears. I don't think they were that long.
Yeah.
I think they all left right around when they were 55. Some of them there was a buyout thing that took place for some of them back then, so they left, maybe 57. But I think Pat was. I think I'm right in there too. I don't know if there's anybody else. Pat and I, our time frames have, other than he was only 4 months as a captain, where I was 4 years. He's 10 years ahead of me in everything, in age and the time he came on, roughly. And so our time in different grades has actually kind of mirrored each other somewhat. So, But he was, I want to say he was around 18 years as well. So
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. So you may possibly be the longest serving.
When did you
Or
get?
at least you're going to put out. He is you and Carrie. You guys are the first, first Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
Right?
well, Carrie's
well
actually
say
been here longer
longest
than
serving.
I have. She came on in '85, I believe. So
When would you?
Carrie DeRoche.
Yeah.
Carrie Anfinson's been here actually.
Yes.
I thought that's who
longer.
you meant. No.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, not that Carrie.
but that Carrie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Another
Carrie.
Bulldog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 When
We
would you
should
say
probably
you
get
started
Carrie, like, one of
actually
those,
like
huh?
getting comfortable in the AC position? How long did that take for you? You think?
At least a couple years.
Yeah.
And for fire scenes, it took even longer. It seems like the more fires you have, then you get,
Sure.
you're repeating, you know what you're doing. You get, but if you go a period of time where you don't have an actual fire, it's like, got to remember to do this, and so you do kind of start losing things a bit. But no, as far as the actual duties and things, at least a couple years. There's some annual things you do, and then it's like you bounce things off each other. Like if AC Killer here is listening, he's still trying to learn how to do transfers right without me proofreading them. I know he'd appreciate that right now. He'd send them out. Say,
Send them out like 3 or
I
4
think
times.
it wasn't too long. I saw him somewhere, and he's like, "The worst part of my job is transfers by far. The worst part." So
So he admits it. He
there's
knows.
some admission to that, and then we got the actual proof. So it's like,
But as far as the scene, incident command stuff, I mean, it's I don't know if you're ever truly comfortable,
sure.
but you start remembering the things you have to do easier. It's like, okay, check this box, check this box. So that part comes, you recall those things more. I've got to take care of this or that, and so that comes along with time. But
I always know if it's a good or bad fire because if AC Wilson's our chief, and he comes out of the car, shit's going bad.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's like,
I'm not getting out of the car.
Uh-oh.
what's going on up here?
Something's
Like,
going
it's like,
wrong.
I gotta get out of here.
This
and
shit
look
is
at
not
this
going
shit.
right.
Yeah.
What do we got to do here?
Time to
I see
see
him
it.
walking around on scene. I'm like, oh, this isn't
Well,
somebody's
you know,
in
and
this isn't gonna
Or
be.
it's a really nice day. I don't
Or
know.
it's a nice day. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and they sit in the car now, and I used to, being on the other side, on the fire ground, and think, why isn't the AC out here with us doing stuff? And, some guys would be like, well, I can't hear if I'm, like Brad would always I can't hear anything. So I sit in the car. So you think, really? But having spent some time acting and been, I actually think that is a hard transition, right? To go, especially as an acting AC, to be like, I mean, those are your guys, your boots on the ground, like you want to be in there doing that stuff.
Sure.
So but I will say that it's probably a hard thing to do to get used to, but it's actually better that, for the command side of it, when you're there, just you're listening, you're managing things, because there's so much coming at you,
Right.
When you're trying to do that, and then you're letting the company officers run the scene and do the stuff, because we know you're giving us the jobs and stuff and say, hey, you tell me what you need to do, and you're just running that stuff. So to see guys need to understand that it's not that you don't want to be out there.
Right.
It's just it's actually better if you are step back, because then people aren't walking up to you and saying something, and there's not
And they still
radio
do.
communications.
A
right?
window.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it all. I'm
I
like,
know.
God damn
hey,
it. I'm gonna walk over there, and he's gonna
but
be not even roll the window down at me, and he's gonna be
Just
like,
like,
what is this asshole
It's
want?
not that they're hanging out because it's 30 below and it's cold outside and they're nice and warm,
Playing
and
Candy
they've got
Crush in the car.
and they've got hot drinks or whatever hanging
Shut a
out.
golf
I mean,
game
that is
here.
they're trying to manage the scene a little bit better. So, but we just we should. But when you do see them get out, it's either it's wrapping up and they just checking on
just
everybody,
checking on the guy, or what
it's
the
like,
hell's going on?
Something ain't looking right. I should go check that out.
Well, I mean, to tag on what you said, though, exactly right, because you do hear better. I tend to get distracted. I want to talk to somebody. Somebody comes out and then they'll say, oh, somebody's trying to get you on the radio. It's like, I'm engaged in this conversation and not hearing that one, so that's not good. But yeah, that goes along with that somewhat level of that comfort you were talking about before, or after a while you find out guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So I have a lot of trust in our officers to do the right thing, and they know their jobs and know what our goal is. I mean, our goal 98% 8% of the time is primary surge, and once that's taken out of the equation, it's just putting the fire out. Come on, let's, you know.
Yeah.
Now my role is obviously safety. If I think, you know, that smoke starts changing a little darker, it's like, oh boy, I'm looking for that white steam to come out of there instead of that gray smoke.
I think we're getting it, and you're like, I don't think you are.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I had one of the Glen Oaks that I had a victory at. I'm on the outside.
I'm keeping tally. Don't worry.
The other one was a purse fire on the stove. We won that one
there
too.
There you go.
But I'm on the outside, and I have crews on the 3rd floor, and I can see them through the balcony windows, just plain as day. There's no smoke, and we have a smoke smell. And one of the driver comes over, and I don't know who it was, says, "There's fire up on the ridge there." It's like, oh, geez. Hey, guys, let's start pulling some ceilings from that 3rd floor because you got fire above you. And we didn't know there was anything. I said, that's why I'm on the outside, to see your eyes. And once we got it, it was obviously, you know, it was a quick hit and knock it down. But yeah, it's you learn to really entrust. We have some really good firefighting officers and firefighters and things like that. So you learn to put faith in them and let them do their jobs. So.
And they'd complain either way. If you're out of the car all the time, they'd be like, what the hell is he over here for? And then you're out of the car, and they're like, guy never gets out of his car. Man, he doesn't care.
Quit micromanaging.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't care. It's like, shut up. I didn't really have a really good, I wouldn't say appreciation, but idea of that until I started doing the blue card stuff, like up here.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, because just sitting doing that, and it's not even the real thing. You're like, holy shit, there's so much
going on.
I don't blame you for never getting out of the car. I don't even want to talk to anyone. I don't even want to listen to the guy next to me.
Yeah, to do it without a whiteboard or a notebook or something. To have it all up here. There's
I don't even remember what I did 10 minutes ago. You think I know where people are and what they're doing? No, I got to write that down.
I went to St. Louis, was one of the suburbs outside of St. Louis, to do my blue card certification, and I went down with I think it was Tom Standish and Dave Bukite as well, and we ran us through. And they have a pretty extensive system down there. I can't remember the name of the city, but anyway, they have an old station that they use, and they sent you down the command vehicle down on the floor, and it was actual Suburban they had set up, or a Tahoe or something like that. They brought it in, and I think they kind of, the final scenarios, they kind of evaluated who was in the class, what kind of experience, and being an AC at the time, I think they figured I had a little bit more experience, and so I was one of the last scenarios, and they threw everything at me, and I went down there, and it was, you know, I'm en route, and just before I'm cued to go en route, they go, oh, the fast attack officer calls a mayday. It's like, I'm not on scene yet. I could have just said, I'm not on scene yet.
Yeah, not my problem.
He was the person in charge. It's like, okay, what do I do? All right, I'm taking command, even though I'm not here, and I know that's a no-no. But so I did that, and then, you know, right away you got a mayday, along with a fire in a large commercial building. It's like, And then they sent somebody, like I said, it was downstairs in an old station, and I'm just by myself operating in the back of this Tahoe or something, command system, and I hear somebody talking on this app floor. It's like, I'm thinking, shut up. And here comes this woman, and she's just talking away. I think, doesn't she realize we're doing some training here? And then she comes over and she says, my child was in the bathroom in there. And it's like, oh, she's part of the scenario. So she is a distraction. Yeah. And she played the role really well. And somebody else, they did something else to me. And I finally called, it was Standish at the time. He was in charge of one of the engines. I said, and they were just on deck or level one. I said, I need you to come down here. Okay, he comes down, and I said, I'm going to go in this car. You are taking care of everything outside this car, and I'm going to do what I need to do in here.
Perfect.
And they threw a few more things at me, and I went up the stairs, and when the scenario was done, I was cussing at them, the facilitators. And they said, no, you did a good job. I said, no, I didn't. They threw everything at me. It's like, you assholes.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Cool.
Good experience and good practice, I suppose. Huh?
Yeah. So, you know, during your career, you worked with a few different fire chiefs, not like 5. You had, so you said Lovis when you came on, then Hamilton for a long time, and then of course Everett for a long time,
and Martin,
and then Martin for the short, a little bit, and then Hamilton for the interim again, and then Everett for 15, 16, and then of course now RC for just a short term. But I guess not necessarily like who your favorite chief was, although if you want to say who your favorite was, but like what are some of the best like attributes or some of the things that you saw that each chief like left for the department, to improve things or some, what are some of the best, like I guess the better things or whatever that you think each chief contributed?
Well, Lovis wasn't there long enough for me to really evaluate. Hamilton was there around 18 years as chief. I think he had a lot of union issues that when knowing the personalities that were the union presidents at the time. But a few of those things. But he was good with his staff. I know there's some other critical people that were a little bit more critical of some things he did. I probably wasn't as tuned to him. I didn't get to work with him as a staff officer as much. But I was as a lieutenant and a captain more so. He was my chief. Very good communicator. Had kind of a way of communicating, getting his way, and seeing. He's pretty persuasive. And getting his way with maybe counsel or people like that. So I think that was his best attribute, was his communication skills. Very good writer. I have one of his written reprimand. I made it into a kind of a template. It's like, guys, I don't know, really write one up. I said,
it wasn't yours, right?
No. No. But I took out all the, the specific stuff, and I left it. It's like, here's one here. If you ever want to write one, this is just fill in the blanks, basically. Very good communicator. So probably vision-wise, probably just more or less go with the flow on things, maintain status quo more so. He had a lot of issues that surfaced, so I think he handled those well. Martin, station, I think his idea was station toning. I don't think we ever had it then, but the other thing was the fire alarms. Took Car 19 out of fire alarms, where we had a full response to fire alarms.
And changed the response.
Yes.
He's the one that went to the one engine, one truck, no ACs, changed added the third engine, I believe, or was it Everett who added the third engine?
Boy, I don't know.
I can't remember.
But I do know the fire alarms, that was the response we have now basically is the fire alarm response, because 90s whatever percent, they're false alarms, and he's right. I think station toning was a big one. I don't know if he had the funding for it, but at least the idea was there.
The flat loads for the hose loads. We went from that accordion to the flat to the current supply line.
Huge.
I mean, if you ever loaded the accordion, the old style and stuff, that's why we weren't doing the flat thing forever.
Yeah.
He had that. What else?
It was the idea, man.
Yeah.
He had a lot of ideas. He worked in a lot of places, so.
But, he wanted to do our APs and our OPs. He just wanted essentially one piece of paper, and that was his big thing. Was like one sheet of paper that had the expectations on it, and that was pretty much it. That was his big thing, was trying to do that. So.
Yeah.
I don't think he wasn't here long enough to accomplish some of the stuff.
No,
but I mean, there are some things that we still do to this day that he contributed.
Yeah, he talked something with the fleet. Maybe that was the very beginning start of the flex loads off the squads and the utility. I don't know. I know he talked about the fleet management. I think the CMG was looking to downsize the fleet a little bit.
Did he get? Yeah, I can't remember. Did he get rid of the mechanic and went to CMG, or is that Everett?
No, I think that was him.
Okay.
I think, and there was some prodding from staff, because we had basically the person that was there.
Yeah.
It was probably more personality or some personnel issues than their answer wasn't getting rid of that person. That was a mistake. Should have been just maybe looking for a change of mechanic at the time, but it is what it is. But then I know Truck 3's brake issue, I think that was spurred when that crashed down by Clark School. That kind of spurred the motivation to get a mechanic. But Chief Everett, there was for me there was a transition. I think he had a lot of ideas, brought a lot of ideas and a lot of changes. I think for a staff person, I think there was a little level of I don't know if we trusted each other at first. I think because first of all, myself and AC Clark were also in the chief's process at that time. So I think I don't know, maybe felt there was a little bit of undermining that we were trying to do, and in the end, really wasn't. Him and AC Robinson didn't see eye to eye on some things. So I think there was a few rough patches there in the beginning, but I think as time went by, he learned some lessons. I think he valued our input a lot more, and things became a lot better for me. I mean, I'm glad the way it worked out for him and I.
Were you frustrated with the progress teams, with the Everett's progress teams when they came in? 'Cause I think that was kind of the grumblings that generally that the staff, the ACs, were kind of being undermined by everybody else because Everett had these progress teams and you guys were kind of left out of stuff.
I didn't have oversight of that, of those type of things that the progress teams were looking at so much, whereas AC Flynn may have. He may have had some more involvement, for the responsibilities he had. So I think he had some more progress teams that were involved with some of the things he was overseeing. I know it didn't always go as well as some folks wanted. I think the concept's great. I think getting involvement and that buy-in from people and getting other ideas and just how it works, I think is a good concept. But I think for some it didn't work out as well. Maybe it's just the type of areas they were involved in, but yeah, we still, obviously we still have some of that involvement in health and safety and things like that. No, I think Tom brought he had a lot of ideas, wanted to keep always progressing, and that was always a thing too, and where sometimes you got to let off the gas a little bit, just pump the brakes a little bit right now. Like, let's learn what we've just learned, what we just were taught. Let's stay with that for a while. So
Right.
things were moving too fast for a while. So I think he did finally, realize that, but wanted to always progress and be better. So I get credit for that, but I think I became a lot closer to him the last several years. I think him and I saw eye to eye on a lot more things, and I think in the beginning, I think there were some rough patches for both sides, the staff and him as well. So, and Chief Collins is fairly new, so, and I won't, be here long enough to really give it a fair evaluation.
Right.
So I'm sure he'll do fine.
Yeah.
Is it more of a case of you telling Chief Collins, like, look, here's how it's going to be?
No, not really. No. I mean, he'll seek my input or something. Had I ever seen this before? And I say no, or, just realizing I've been around so a while. So, but he's got his own direction. And,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's good to hear you say that whatever issues that you had with Chief Everett, you resolved towards the end, and
Yeah.
it's good to hear you say also that that it felt like stuff was coming at you fast, because I don't know about you guys, but that's how it felt. Like at the ground level, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what you
didn't have time
you
to
didn't have time to
digest
process
just the
one
last
thing,
and then we're
something
like,
else
okay,
is
we're
coming
jumping into
down,
this
and-
next thing. It's like,
Well, you realize too that
I don't even know what I'm doing.
yeah, and I still don't.
But
me too. Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
kind of that go between, our position, because we are working at Station 1 and we hear your we hear the input from the boots on the ground.
Right.
But yet we're on the other side of the table too at times. So we're in that unique position to hear both sides of things, how things are going and what they're being perceived at versus, no, this is really how it is, And I don't mean to sound like with Chief Everett, I think there was just some, not so much rough patches, but I think with staff, I think there was a little bit of, he had some learning to do too.
Sure.
And I think once he realized that we weren't trying to undermine him, I think things started flowing much better.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. He may
Right.
be, if he was here to argue it, I don't know. But,
No, and I think
Yeah.
when you listen to his podcast and stuff, he would kind of reiterate the same things. I think he said, like looking back in his career, that he may have done things a little
Sure.
bit too fast, and there was that stuff, and might have done things a little bit different, having known, in the moment that you're just kind of doing stuff. But it's good, that's that growth and that self-reflection and stuff. And sometimes it takes.
Yeah.
A long, you're through it, and then you look back and go, yeah, I wish I'd done that different, But as long as at the end of the day, everybody kind of, finds that, and there's a mutual understanding, mutual respect and stuff, then, that's kind of a good thing.
And his, he was promoted to chief in 2008. So his 16 years, retiring last year, his 16 years were within my time frame as a staff officer. So I've worked with him, obviously, the longest as a chief, as a staff officer. So,
Yeah.
I probably have the most insight into him, and things. And I think, I really enjoyed working with him. In the latter years, I think we kind of saw eye to eye, and we had a mutual understanding of things as well. So
Good.
That's all you can ask, really.
yeah.
Well, while we're talking about it, what's one thing you would change over your time? If you could
For
go
me
back?
personally,
Yeah.
boy, I don't know. I think, I mean, the message to, I think, a question about somebody seeking promotion. I think I wish I see a lot of folks here that are coming on that have gotten they've already got a lot of certifications or, some background. I wish I'd have started earlier in my career. And I would have been a 25-year assistant chief. But no, I call my floating years as kind of that floundering time, because you really didn't know where you wanted to go, and I didn't know that I wanted to get promoted until after a while. I was like, I don't want to work for those guys. I want to be one of those guys. I'd say just get involved early, and education. When I started, you were a younger person. You didn't put in for classes. You were just kid, shut up, sit in the corner, or do whatever.
Right.
And now it's a whole different culture. You're encouraged to bring ideas and go to classes and, seek outside training and things like that. So we want that. And so maybe just because of the culture we had, but I would probably just start getting my education and background and degrees and training and all that earlier. I mean, I made up for it at some point, but I probably sacrificed some family time along the way, by doing things. So, I would probably change that and take it a little bit, start earlier, but take it at a little slower pace, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was, we'll get one more question here, then maybe we take a break for a minute. But what was when I asked you during my eval and stuff, but was that like where you're happiest, or what was your favorite kind of time on the job, or whatever, or position?
I've enjoyed them all. I've enjoyed each rank. I've had probably the most fun, when it was fourth firefighter, maybe floating. You go around to different stations, you find your niche. You find some stations you don't care for, and other ones you go and, you spend a little time there. Back then, you spent maybe 5 shifts, sometimes a month at a station. Now you're here at 1, next day you're at 7, now you're at 8, now you're at 4. There's so many the way we split vacations and people are gone, quite often it's changed that way. But I think as fourth firefighter, spending time. I mean, I'm down at Station 1 with guys like, it was Joel Van Meter was an officer, Mike Winkler, Rick Ohl was down there,
man.
Jim Hansen, Shane Reed.
Oh, Lord.
You put like that
Jim Allen was in there at some point as an officer.
What a cast of characters
You have
there.
some different personalities there, and man, we had some good times. I mean, Mike McClellan was in there with his, and so you just the dynamics of that group were just amazing, And then you sat around and you actually played cards. There was card playing because we didn't have these devices that were called phones, and back then the bedrooms didn't even have cubicles in them. It was a big open area, so it was good. That was probably one of my favorite times. But I've enjoyed each position, learning and things like that. So and I still have fun. I still like to have fun,
Oh yeah.
This job is 24 hours. We can't have a little fun.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
What's
man?
the point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we'll take a short break, come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Excuse me. Just a quick reminder. Paramedic application period is open till April 24th, and the live stream event is going to be on April 8th. What time?
I don't know, 7.
7?
Actually, like 6:30. So on air at 7.
Gotcha. Okay. So,
And that paramedic too. That's for single. That's single role paramedic. That's not fire. That's
correct.
not fire
Sorry.
paramedic. That's
Yeah.
single role paramedic.
Yes.
So yep.
gut wagon paramedic.
Yeah, they just comes to meat wagon.
Yeah.
You guys puking in the corner.
Ambulance driver paramedic.
Tommy boy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Fantastic.
Continuing our conversation with Assistant Chief Wilson, who's nearing retirement. When's the official date? When's the last shift?
Oh, yeah.
Well, by the pension system, it has to be April 30th, but the
Okay.
last shift is April 28th into the 29th.
Nice. Okay. Last one, so roughly a month away.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What do you got planned for retirement?
Well, I have my annual golf volunteer trip that costs me a couple grand every year to go volunteer for out in Charlotte. So I'll do that the 11th, May 11th through around the 18th. So Mother's Day, I'll leave and spend the week out there. Doing what I do as a hole 2 marshal.
Oh, nice.
Well,
So what
actually,
is that involved? I'm not a golfer.
Well,
So.
our hole 2 is not the premier hole out there, but it's early on in the round. It doesn't get a lot of exposure, but I like the group I work with out there. I'll be a hole captain.
Ooh.
So I'm taking a demotion right away. I'm going from AC to captain.
Oh man.
And but it's basically, I look at it as 2 different things. You keep crowd control a little bit, just keep them somewhat quiet.
Do you
Players
get one of those signs?
No, we don't.
No?
We use
Don't carry
hands. We're
hands?
hands only. Do the
Okay.
paddles or nothing.
Gotcha.
And the other one is where I'm at is it's a par 4, so it's a landing area where the drives go in that area, so they could hit them left. Where I like to be at is it's a kind of a dog leg left, so they like to cut over these trees. Some of the guys don't quite get it there, and so those things will drop down. And so we'll help spot their ball and keep the pace of play moving and stuff. So they're not spending they can't spend 15 minutes looking for a ball. There's a rule. You got to spend like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. 3 minutes, I think, is their max.
Okay.
But it's fun. You interact with a lot of crowds and see some of these, higher profile players. And this year is the major championship. It's the PGA championship, so it's a major tournament.
Awesome.
A lot of
Nice.
big names will be there. So,
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite golfer?
Well, with the younger crowd, I know it's Tiger. That's not me. Jack Nicklaus. He's the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's still
Like
the
the
man.
Godfather.
Yeah.
I like Phil Mickelson. I know he went over the tour, but took the money and ran. But that's all right. But I like some of the. I still like golf. There's a lot of younger players coming up, and it's just that environment and watching any one of them hit. It's just amazing. I stand on the tee box behind them, and it's like, I don't know how you do that.
Right.
They're trying to cut over a tree that I look down there. It's like that thing's like 250 yards away, and you're trying to go over it. So that means it's got to go longer than 250. And it's just amazing the skills that they have, and that's why I like doing what I do. Is just they'll be in my area and hitting off pine straw and going around some tree, and it's like that's just amazing. I should do that.
And I would assume like any sport, seeing it in person is way cooler and much more impressive to see it done in person than watching it on TV. Because you watch it on TV and it's hard to get a sense for it. You're like, oh, I could do that. That's easy.
Yeah. And last year I got to play the course the day after.
Oh,
nice.
And my son came up from Florida, and we both played. So that's something. It's a private club, and we'll never get to play it. But
Right.
we had the opportunity to play
That's
it the
so
day
cool.
after. So,
Oh, cool.
and then to see where their tee boxes are compared to where we're teeing off. It's like, they hit from there.
Oh, man.
It's just incredible.
We
I mean, the talent
We
is
got a
just
3-minute
amazing.
drive to our tee off stuff.
Yeah.
So you appreciate it. And so I watch and so the tournament week, the first 3 days are practice rounds for all the players. So they'll be a little looser.
You get to go watch that too.
Yeah, I'm part of it. We still have to
Marshal
kind
for
of
that.
maintain. Yeah,
Nice.
They have the ropes, so we're inside the ropes.
Writing all their notes and
Yeah, you kind of like they'll hit on your area right there, and you hear their conversations and things like that. And then the Thursday through Sunday would be the actual tournament days, which everything's a little more serious then.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I enjoy it. This is probably my 8th or 9th year. I don't remember.
How do you get into doing something like that?
Well, that's what I asked somebody one time.
Okay.
My kids used to live out in Charlotte, and so I asked. We went to a tournament one day, and I asked the person that was in there, basically my position out there now, that how you do this? Oh, just go to the website and put your name down. It's usually about a 2-year wait, and about 2 years later they contacted me, and so I got assigned as kind of a floater.
Okay.
I was they call them rovers, though.
Going through the ranks again, all
Starting
over.
from scratch.
But they call them rovers, but it's basically a floater. You just go wherever you're needed. And so I did that one year, but then the next year I got kind of put in this group, and I talked to these guys. I really enjoyed them because they moved you around the hole, and you didn't stay in the same place all day. And I said, hey, how do I get hooked up with you guys? Just put my name down next year. And lo and behold, I've been with them ever since.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
And both those guys that are the other 2 hole captains live in the area of Charlotte. And I just made arrangements with the one. Him and I are going to ride together to where we got to take the shuttle bus in.
Okay.
Because parking's a big thing for those tournaments too. So, got to know them really well. And
So once you're in that group, are you forever in that group, or do you have to reapply every year?
you still reapply, but
Okay.
you just put down that hole and you're pretty much assigned.
Yeah.
So you've been marshaling with the same guys, kind of?
Yeah, the last 7 or 8 years.
That's going to
then.
be a good time then.
Yeah, and they're getting older, so they're not going to do it forever. And I'd kind of like to continue after they leave. But and there's some other regular, I call them gallery management, it's still marshals, but that's their proper term for it. But it's I love it. If you're a golfer, I mean, it's enjoyable. Talk to some of the crowds. It's a little looser, but when the big names start coming through, the crowds are coming through too. You got a lot of people, and they're bringing other people that are help out. So it can get hectic there. So you don't want to be the ones the players talk about and complain about late after the round, because some of them are kind of whiners.
Right.
They can be.
Yeah.
Some divas.
Yeah, a little bit.
You don't want to be the guy that makes the ESPN highlight.
No.
As long as we're on the golf thing, who would, if you could play a round of golf with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
I'd have to be Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah.
I know his health and his hips. I've seen him in a few things in person here lately, and his hip mobility, and he has a hard time. But he's in his mid-80s. There's several. I mean, okay, if somebody said Tiger, I guess I would. He's not my favorite because I'm a Jack guy. Jack's the man, not Tiger.
Right.
But I'm older because I grew up watching him.
I was gonna say, because that's my grandparents and my dad and stuff. That's their generation of golfer.
Yeah.
Is Jack and Arnold Palmer and Chi-Chi and those guys.
Yeah.
That's
Arnold Palmer would be right up there. I like those guys, but I think any one of them. There's some younger guys that I like that have some personality to them too. You watch them on TV and you can tell. And that guy's kind of an ass. I know. I know there's one out there. I've just heard some stories from the other marshals that are out there, and that guy last year, he's kind of an ass. And I've seen it in person. It's like, okay, steer clear of him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the ones that have personality, Bryson DeChambeau, that guy's a little different. Long hitter, and it's just he has fun with the crowds afterwards too.
Nice.
That's nice, though.
I don't know. I think
Somewhat of a personality.
Yeah.
But
do you ever get to see like John Daly or anything?
I saw him in Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
He was taking his card around because he's got, quote, the disability. But he was this Sanford, the senior event they have every year. He did 1 year. I saw that. But
Cool.
Yeah. Is there anybody that made you kind of fangirl the first time that you were kind of like, oh my God, it's him?
Fangirl, all right.
Just grab the phone
Well, back in the day, I mean, I got Phil Mickelson's autograph.
Okay.
Man, he's a fist bumper. He's go through crowds, and he's always been kid friendly too. That was what I really liked about him. He's very fan friendly. We'll stay around and sign everybody's autographs
That's cool.
afterwards. But going through from hole to hole, he's a fist bumper with kids or give them a ball. And, that's pretty cool.
That means a lot. Yeah.
So,
that's cool.
But see him and it's just like, wow. But they're just regular people.
Just
Most of
guys.
them are pretty regular people too. Some of the younger guys are a little more intense, but it's just cool. I just admire their talent. It's like, I don't know how you do that. But yeah.
Nice. So getting back into some of the stuff with back to the job and stuff, even though we could probably talk golf for a while, but so we kind of hit on favorite assignments and different things, but and a lot of the calls and just memorable calls and fires and stuff. But is there like who would you call like a mentor for you through the job and stuff, or whether current, past, like who's somebody that you felt like you either really learned from, or that you can still go back to and ask questions and stuff if you have things. I mean, we talk about mentor. Who is your mentors?
I'd have to go back to Pat Flynn again. Like I said, as I was, quote, titled the hazmat floater, and whether that was deserved or not, I mean, like I said, Station 7, I grew up in Leeds. They worked there. Rich Ewell and him, and then Jerry Lindsley, who was their third man. Not that I initially really liked hazmat, but I liked the station. I liked the district because I grew up there. I knew the district. The call volume was, tolerable. And but Pat was, he's kind of a quirky individual. He had his quirks, and he liked things a certain way, but I respected that. And so they kept asking for me to come out when there was somebody gone. And, we had a good time. We enjoyed, we had when especially Rich and Pat and myself, we would have a good time, just enjoy, working together. And so I just kept getting asked for, and then you can call the AC, I'd like to get this guy out here. And then it became like this hazmat floater. I started going to some of these things on my day off, and I said, why does he do that? Somebody asked my dad that. I said, why does he do that? I said, well, let me look at it this way. I could go out to 7s and probably sleep through the night. I can go down to 1s and get woke up 4 or 5 times. I said, you do the math.
Yeah.
Sleep's a little important. Yeah. So, so I Pat was, but I think he very structured and he made it to an assistant chief level, and so it I learned some things from him, and I viewed him as a good officer, right or wrong, however he did things. I know he rubbed people the wrong way at times, but it's just him. So I'm sure there's others. I mean, I talked to Bob Hamilton. He was the chief that saw all 3 of my promotions. So I mean, I respected him for that. And he when he asked me where I wanted to be in 5 or 10 years as a lieutenant, I said I want to be sitting in your seat. But
power move right there.
Yeah. I don't know, be sitting in your seat maybe. But you learn, you pick up those good traits from people that you respect and good officers, and you try to avoid the ones that it's like, I never wanted to be the guy that was, you get on scene and you could tell in the first 3 words they said that you had a fire or not. I wanted to be the same. Now maybe I probably didn't, I wasn't successful all the time with that, but I didn't want to be too excited. But there's times when there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to get that now.
Absolutely.
You need to get to that now.
And you can convey that without losing your mind.
Exactly.
Probably a lot worse nicknames you could have gotten than hazmat floater.
Yeah.
So that's probably.
I didn't mind it because I like going to 7s. So
Did you have any response? Did you go down for the terror explosion?
we went terror explosion after the event. Did a lot of air monitoring for the ammonia and things like that. Quite a few shifts, but rotations or 8-hour days or something like that. Did that. They brought in a semi that was just basically a big kitchen. They'd make whatever you want. You want an omelet? Here, kid, you take an omelet here, But yeah, I went down for that. That was kind of neat. Seeing all the destructive.
Did that solidify hazmat for you then after doing that kind of stuff? Or
it's amazing to see the power of an explosion when you see giant I-beams that are twisted. I mean, it's like, wow. It was just all part of it. It's just doing, hazmat, and that was probably because we didn't really have that. I wouldn't say the tech rescue to where it is now. We had vehicle rescue, but we had the rope guys. They were the knotheads. We were the glowworms, that kind of thing, But my thing wasn't hanging off the side of a building on a rope, so I'm gonna put a suit on.
There you go.
I'm not claustrophobic, so
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah,
Were you ever in the Bureau?
no,
Did you ever want to, or is that not a?
no.
Okay,
But
we'll leave it at that.
caveat: I did take the fire marshal test once,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
did make it
Okay.
on the fire marshal. So
Okay.
I made every list there is on this job.
Every possible list.
And there's a bad one
Gotcha.
too you can get on. I was probably on that as too, but it's a shit list. But no, I took it because the way the timing worked out, there was a captain, a fire marshal, and an assistant chief test all within the same time frame.
Oh wow, yeah.
And they were three consecutive days. So I really wanted the cap. I was lieutenant at the time, so I wanted the captain one, obviously. So the first day was, I don't know if they gave the AC one, and then they gave the fire marshal one, and then they gave the captain one. It was the third day. By that time, I've seen a lot of questions, and a lot of questions for the different levels repeat. Not all of them, but they're the same question. Now the problem is you just didn't know if you answered it on day one, right? You didn't, but at least you'd seen it.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with the oral. They were 3 days in a row, so I did 3 orals in a row. By the end of the third day, the guy from Des Moines, the HR guy, was like, "All right, yeah, here we go again."
This guy.
But I didn't want to bomb it the first 2 days because it might have a reflection on my third
Yeah,
day.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I did it just for that because I wanted to get more questions and get more comfortable with it. And so I made the fire marshal list with Chuck Hirsch, who thankfully took it. If he didn't pass, I was like, I might have got it.
Very good.
What advice would you give someone that's looking to promote?
Well, that's one. Take the test as many as when you're eligible. Take that test. I hear people say, "Well, I'm not ready for it." Well, don't take it if they offer it. But the experience of going through the testing process and the questions and getting comfortable with orals, that's the first thing. Take it seriously. Prepare. Read some of the books. Maybe if you feel that, hey, I'm taking it because I have 5 years on, I'm not going to get promoted. You never know. But get well versed in the management aspect. Learn, understand all those, or read those books and get good with that area. For instance, the first time around. But yeah, talk to other officers and see what the job's like. Understand the job. Maybe you don't want it. In the end, you're probably going to find that out.
Yeah. I've made a terrible mistake.
I want to go back. But just get involved early too. That's part of where we come in, the staff level. I know you were talking about how we promote and things like that, but we do. We look at what someone's done for the department and the things they've been involved in and things like that. So, that all plays a factor. So, if you're truly serious, get involved. And like you said, if you make that list, okay, maybe you don't get promoted, but you're going to get moved into those acting opportunities when there are some. So.
Yeah.
That all adds up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said too with our officers and stuff on the fire ground when you're in command. I think our level of training from even when I started to now and the things, especially our hot training now that we picked up a new acronym, so our hands-on training, that's super fun. But our facilities are better, our equipment's better and stuff, for tactics, everything, blue card, all this stuff. So as far as operationally, you have trust in our officers to do this stuff. But what are the things or the qualities that I guess you expect for your company officers outside of the fire ground? What's I guess, what your expectations of them are, or like what you kind of said is your expectations as the officer for yourself,
Well, the first thing is obviously know your job. Know what you're supposed to be doing at your level. And I say do your job, obviously, know the dates that, inspections need to be done by. There's some of those basic things, But the other thing is holding your crews accountable. And I'm not saying, you're chewing ass every other minute. But making sure they're taking care of, their time records or their training. I know we have the training reports that are sent out. Don't let it get to where I have to hear about it in staff and then remind somebody. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to hear about it and like, get a report and this crew's not doing something. It's like, all right, I got to make a phone call. Those things should be handled in-house, so take care of business at that level, and we're gonna get along fine, I think that's I'll speak for all three of the ACs. I think that's all we're really looking for. I mean, sure there's more to it, but that's some of the basic things we're looking for. Is just make sure your crews are doing what they need to do, and you're responsible for them. I've got, the way it's supposed to work, I've got 9 officers that are, working for me. I shouldn't have to add the 2 or 3 crew members to that list too, except on a fire ground. But that's kind of basic, but that's really a lot of it. Is just take care of business, Yeah.
It sounds simple. It's a simple concept.
Yeah.
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 But it doesn't always work.
But it doesn't always work.
It
Agreed.
doesn't always work. Yeah.
Did you have, like, going to work as an officer and stuff? Did you do any, like, kind of self-reflection? Or did you have any, like, kind of mantra or anything that you kind of told yourself going into? I mean, what was, I guess, because you could set your expectations for your crew. And, as a captain in a firehouse, you have your expectations for your officers, you have your expectations for your guys that are on your rig. But what are the things that you kind of said, okay, these are mine for them, but these are mine for me, as far as, stuff that you tell yourself? And, is there anything that...
In my current position or just throughout?
Or just throughout, like,
Well, I'm probably my harshest critic. I don't like to make mistakes, but we all do. But when I do, I feel I made one, I like to learn from it and not repeat history. I mean, that's just me. And we're all going to do, maybe, I didn't consider all the facts. I think sometimes I don't, maybe didn't do all the research I should have. Learn from that is get all the information, both sides, of a certain issue, I probably learned that with the apparatus purchases. Not that, we had a few little hiccups, but I tried to do my best homework, the most amount of homework on how this works, because I'm spending a lot of the city's money and I'm trying to get it right. And so I attended classes, I found articles, I looked at different things, and we met with CMG and things like that, and making sure that we have the right product for, I want to satisfy the needs of the men and women that are going to be on those rigs, and within reason, but I also have a responsibility for the city to keep the costs, within reason too. So, and be functional, and that's the thing. It's maybe bad if you spec out a $1 million truck and you forget to put an aerial ladder on top. That's kind of bad. So, but I think just my own thing is try to. I probably suffer a little bit from what's the analysis paralysis.
Okay.
And I've learned to get away from that a little bit. Sometimes getting something out there. I just didn't want to put say I develop a policy. It might take me a little while, but it's going to be pretty dang close the first time. I'm not going to put out 4 of them. It's like, you missed that or you screwed that up. Mm-hmm. I like to get it right the first time as close as possible. So, but in the process, it does develop, and sometimes it takes a little longer to do things. So, because I'm not thinking about it. It's just that I want to get the right product the first time. So, yeah. Those are my expectations. Is try to not half-ass something,
Yeah. Are you gonna leave the job satisfied? Like, I mean, in life we should always be looking forward, not looking back, and not having regrets. Mm-hmm. Anyways, but I mean, can you walk away from this job and say, you know what, I'm good. I did my job. I'm left it there, and I could walk away and feel like I accomplished everything I set out to do.
And I think, you hear it from, I think Chief Everett used to say, leave the job better. I think in most aspects, a lot of aspects I did. As long as we're continuing to be better. I don't really have any regrets. It's, I don't know. I don't think am I going to miss it? Probably for a little while until I get to sleep in that third day.
Right.
No, I mean, I think just the camaraderie and things like that I have with some folks. I think that's the fun part of our job is coming to work and having that. But I don't have a lot of friends on the outside, and one of them just passed away a couple of months ago. So. But I'm content with what I do on my day off. I keep busy with a lot of stuff. So. I'm sure it'll be. I'll miss that camaraderie and just that ability to talk to people and dinner table time and stuff like that. So, but no, as far as the job, I feel satisfied. I think I've added some things.
Because what is that first shift? If you're done on the 28th, what's the morning of May 1st feel like? Because it's not vacation anymore. It's
I don't know. I don't know. I won't even have my phone to check the roster either. I think they cut me off. I don't know.
Are you going to just come hang out at the fire station? Like, hey guys, what's up?
I'll call up.
Probably not.
It's going to be like the senior that never leaves high school.
Oh God, it's Wilson again.
Jesus. I don't know that I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm not going to hang out at Hy-Vee and drink coffee. So when I see things in the news, I'll probably read articles, but and I may call Kevin, for something once in a while, but or he'll call me because he wants to remember how to do something,
Yeah.
But, advice. I hope he's watching this.
Transfers are coming up, Bob.
He's already dished it off on a compliment.
Nice. Delegate that authority.
It's definitely going to be a change. I enjoy what I do. And I've been thinking about it a lot here lately. It's like, it's going to be a change. And I'm going to, instead of having people work with me and for me, I'm going to be working for my wife. And that's totally different,
Yeah.
She's watching. I know she's going to watch later, too. So.
You mentioned something about the sleep or the lack thereof. Maybe you already answered it, but I was going to ask you, what's one thing that you're not going to miss about the job?
The phone calls from the comm center in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Okay.
And probably with the alarms. Though I can go back to sleep rather easy with the alarms. I'll hear an address and it's like, oh, okay, and then I go back to sleep, and in the morning it's like, did they go there? Like, and then he's like, I don't remember them going there. It's like Medic 1 went out last night, and it's like, I don't remember going there.
Yeah. They said that was we went with them at 3 o'clock in the morning. They said that was their first run for the shift at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
First run for Medic 1 for the
quiet.
shift.
Yeah.
It was a quiet
Castleman,
shift.
wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And I got up and I looked at the report and I thought, I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they don't realize, the ACs, you get, every time one goes out, you get whether you go out or not, you get woke up with one. So.
There's not too many things I'll really miss. I mean, I really do. I've told people, I said, I don't hate my job. I just don't want to be there anymore because I got other things I'd want to do.
Right.
I'm going to have the time to do them now, and I'll still run all the time. My dad's got a place up at Spirit Lake that I'm kind of taking over and maintain. I got a lot of, not a lot of ideas, a few things I'd like to do, and he's fine with that. Let me do it, and I'm looking forward to spending time up there. Maybe spend a few days and just do whatever I want to do. It's relaxing. So, I don't know.
Was your dad pretty? Excited for you, pretty proud? I mean, and that's a hard question, if your dad's proud of you and stuff, but to see you career-wise with success, like you said, he drove for a long time.
Yeah.
And, to see you get, promoted lieutenant captain and then assistant chief and stuff and make it off the job safe, I guess.
I think so. He just won't say it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My mom was more so when she was alive. I think, she'd always introduce me and, oh, that's my son, and he's an assistant chief. don't do that.
Yeah.
You know. But no, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he knows. You know, he knows when I'm retiring. 'Cause he just asked me yesterday. He said, "When you done? How many more shifts you got? Like 10, 11, or 12, or whatever?" I said, "Yeah, you're right on the money." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
He's keeping track then.
Yeah.
yeah. And it's funny. They both knew when my shift day was. Like, how do you do that? I don't even know when I retire. If I'll know what shift I was gonna work.
Yeah.
Unless I put it in my calendar. It's like,
Right.
but they both, when they're, my mom was alive and my dad, they still know when my work days are. It's like, what do you mark it on the calendar or what?
Oh yeah.
Probably.
I don't know.
Did you ever hold it like over your dad's head, like, hey, everybody who's an assistant chief, raise their hand. Oh, sorry.
Well,
Like if you were still working, I'd be your boss.
Yeah,
You didn't understand all that. Yeah.
my dad and our careers overlapped 12 years. And he was
okay.
out 8 most of that time when I was on the job here, and I was probably out 7's different shift. And my goal was to be his boss one day. And one day, somehow a trade or something worked out. I was his boss.
Oh, my gosh.
And was with my dad and Randy Phillips.
Oh,
Yeah.
So there was 2 Wilsons and Phillips. So the group
Wilson Phillips. That's
right?
awesome. That's fantastic.
And I thought, I'm dreaming of this day. And then when I got to that point, I kind of chickened out. I thought I'd boss my dad around.
Still your dad. Yeah.
Still my dad. You know, I got to live with him the other 364 days. Or not live with him, but, know him.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just a kind of a routine day. We went on calls. It wasn't like he knows what he's doing.
Right.
So,
That would be
yeah, I
awkward.
kind of chickened out.
I don't blame you. I
Yeah.
would too.
Not one bit.
No, that's fantastic. Wilson Phillips. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Wilson Phillips.
Yep.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit on break. Your wife is still working and is going to continue to work for a while after you retire, and that's by design. Correct?
She doesn't know it yet, but yeah, she does. Well, she's
Sorry.
6 years younger, and we've looked at. We have a finance guy who has to meet with us every year, Edward Jones guy, and so we go over stuff, and then we've been looking obviously at more of the retirement years and things like that. So, and once I convinced the guy that I have a pension and that I get a drop payment, and he finally understands that after 3 years of meeting with him, but he kind of got to put it together. But yeah, we've looked at hers, and I mean, she could probably leave in 3 years, and she gets some sort of a pension too. But she gets more if she waits 3 more years. I'm push her that way. So.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think she's excited. She says she's excited, but for me, I don't know if she really means that. She's gonna have me every day.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say she's right now until until you're home every day, and she's like, shouldn't you go find something to do?
Go do something. Go
Yeah.
on a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a
I'm
week.
sure
Good.
I'm sure I speak for you guys. Whenever I'm on vacation, my wife hates it because it screws up her routine.
Yeah.
You know, like get away from me.
Yeah.
In the nicest possible way, I think.
Well, fortunately, I hate to admit it on social media or whatever, but I actually don't mind doing housework. I hate dishes piled up in the sink. Mm-hmm. The dishwasher's literally 2 feet over.
Yep.
Right? Put that
Not
in there.
that hard.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Put them out there. I don't mind throwing clothes in the wash and getting them picked up. And it's just, I don't know. I had to do it for years on my own. It's not a big deal
Yep.
to do. So,
Yeah.
but I do. I find enjoyment just in putzing around the house and just finding stuff. It's like, I started that 3 years ago. I should probably finish that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one of those attic ladders. It's in the garage, and it's still sitting in the box over there. I bought it, and it's like I'm going to put that up one day, so we can just walk up the attic. It's still sitting there.
Yeah.
That's going to get done.
Finally, I
though.
was gonna say finally that
now's
one
your
day
chance.
it's gonna come, right?
It's gonna happen.
Out of excuses. Besides the golf, because of course that's gonna be probably a big. You do just traveling in general and stuff, or I mean, what's gonna keep you busy now on your off every third day that you got to yourself?
I'm going to still plan on doing some. I'll probably still do WIT. I'll probably do that in the fall. I'm going to do the fall. I still do online classes through Purdue Global. I had Lieutenant McClure as my student one time. That was enjoyable.
Oh,
But and I do some subbing in a public school too once in a while. So that's my fun money.
Yeah.
And a lot of times my house fund comes from those jobs. So so my travels in Charlotte, it's going to cost me a couple grand. I don't even add it up because I know it's at least a couple grand, probably closer to 3. But week of hotel and rental car and the flight and buying my uniform and all that stuff, because you got to buy your own uniform. So it's probably closer to 3, but I don't even want to add it up. So,
but ACs make that in like a week.
Yeah,
so.
like a minute or something. Yeah. That's what we've been told. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But no, I'll continue to do some of that until I get tired of it. And but yeah, just I've got to get down and see my son in Florida. We have a grandson from them. We left 2 days before he got out of the NICU, or whatever you say, last time back in November. So we haven't actually seen him. We couldn't go in the hospital and see him. So he got out 2 days after we left last time. So I got to get back down there. So, but I'll just take off and go. I will probably. I might even tell my wife too. So I'm leaving.
Oh, by the way,
I'll be back in about a week.
Yeah.
Should probably say okay.
Yeah.
So enough to keep you busy at least, though.
Yeah. But I hope to keep golfing, as well. So just it probably won't be as much as I used to. But
You cart guy or walking guy?
Cart. I need to walk more.
Now, do you ever looked at the like the big fat tire scooters and stuff instead of the regular carts?
There's a guy at Green Valley's got a motorcycle. He rides it.
Yeah.
It's got his bag on the front.
What?
Yeah, I'm serious. It's like
I'll have to get one of those.
It's made that way.
Yeah, they have the scooters. They had when I was in Sergeant Bluff, their neighbor down the street had a ride-on scooter, bags on the back, big fat tires because it's made to go. You can actually those are actually made to go up even on the greens, but you just drive off the cart path with those everywhere, and they get speakers on them. And they're fancy. They call them. I think it's I can't remember if it's a fat bike or something like that, but yeah, they're pretty cool.
Right on.
And they have so that's a sit-down version. Then they have one where you stand up and do the same thing, and they just take off.
Like a Segway.
Yeah, kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, no, right now a cart. I just checked my cart before I came here, make sure it was still. It's a battery one, so I'll make sure the batteries weren't all corroded over the winter and stuff, and it was running other than a few low tires. But I hope to do that a little bit more too.
Perfect.
I didn't do much last year, so
You're picking a good time to retire too, with spring and summer right around the corner.
Yeah, I love spring when I love watching the snow melt the other day, and
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add or anything? We always kind of tell our guests and stuff that this is because this is archived. It's going to be on the interwebs until it disappears and stuff. So, so anything to add about family and stuff? It's kind of an important thing. It's for us in time away. But anything that you'd like to say about your family or share or leave a message to? I guess kind of like a time capsule.
Well, you're going to see more of me.
Yeah.
Good or bad. We spent a week with a couple friend of ours in Phoenix just 2 weeks ago, and we were. I was on one of my rants or something. Not a rant, but just some of my weird stuff I spew, and my wife turns to him and says, "This is what I got to live with every day." So you're going to have a lot more of that coming up.
Yeah.
So, no, I guess for my family, I appreciated the support, and I realize I probably have sacrificed some time for this job because with them and things. I mean, I have my grandson is turning 2 this Saturday. I'm scheduled to work. I haven't broached that one yet with my wife. It's like he's going to have a birthday next year.
Yeah.
I just want to work. I really don't want to use any vacation right now. So, but I appreciate the support they, my kids and wife have shown me and things like that, and understanding for my work. And sometimes my moods when I come home, because sometimes you're not always in the best mood. Maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, or you just had all-night call or something like that. So, just have a little understanding of that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope to, get a lot of things done that we've been talking about doing, just haven't done yet. So, yeah.
Now you got the time.
Yep. I just won't have the money. I'll be on a fixed income now. So.
Oh man, it's gonna be pretty tight, isn't it?
Pretty good though.
I'll keep paying into that pension system.
That's
for
right.
You, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
There you go. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. For a few more years. We did, you kind of talked about, some of your accomplishments or things that you hang your hat on, and some of the things for different chiefs brought to the job and stuff. But I guess for your 38 years, is that where we're at, career?
38
Something
and a half,
like that?
yeah.
38 and change. I guess what are some of the biggest changes? I guess whether it's administratively, operationally, but I guess fundamentally, some of the biggest changes that you've seen through your career.
I'd say in the area of obviously EMS. Paul and I were talking off. I guess is this camera? Yeah, camera. I don't know. Whatever we're on. I remember starting. We had basically an O2 tank that was in a green wooden box, and this thing was that was it. With a few masks in the top of the lid, and you'd walk into a house with that and bang your knee on it, and then basically an orange bag. I think it was orange bag that was, for the lack of a better term, an expanded first aid kit. Maybe a few drama dressings and a burn blanket, and that was about it. And that was EMS. And now we've got cardiac monitors. We've got paramedics. We didn't have paramedics.
Yeah.
And not everybody had to be an EMT back then. You were the first responder level, I believe.
Yeah.
And that evolution of the certification came along, and then the equipment, and then we've got drugs now that can save lives, and we can give in the field, and then also go the other way too. But that's probably the biggest change. The equipment, the rig, the apparatus. First of all, the price tag on those is amazing. We're up to around $900,000 these next few that we're looking
for the engine.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were in the
That's
200s,
insane.
maybe.
I said the E1s, I think, were like 150 or
Maybe
200,000.
150, something like that.
With the E1s when they came. So I mean, that's 20 years ago that's what you could get a fire engine for.
And to be honest with you, we really haven't added a lot of different features. Now, this last time, the trash line, I was putting a box in a bumper and a few things like that. The ladder mounts, of which that's still to be whether we go forward with those. And but I'm not afraid to try. For me, I'm not afraid to try some innovations and try it. And hey, let's go for it. Maybe we don't like it. We don't go that way next time. But I'm not afraid. That was probably the biggest thing. Hazmat. We worked out of a bread truck. And,
Literally.
and literally a bread truck and things like that. So that's evolved. The tech rescue aspect. These guys are doing amazing things, and they're well trained. I mean, they do some great stuff. I mean, the shoring, the rope rescue, the low angle. I mean, all that stuff. Vehicle rescue. That's just an art anymore. I mean, you see those guys and get in there. They know exactly what they got to do, and I just stand back and make sure the semi doesn't roll into it. Well, not that I'm going to stop the semi, but I can at least yell at them. Hey, semi. Interstate incidents are scary because nobody slows down.
No.
But those type of things. Fires are down. Our EMS calls are up. EMS is an integral part of our job, and it's even more so today. It was back then, but fires are still fires. But we've learned some new techniques. You're still putting water on the wet stuff on the red stuff type of thing, but. I've seen just the equipment and techniques and the training and just the services we offer. I mean, that to me, it's just amazing. And we offer a lot of services. And I think for the city, and maybe not everybody agrees with it, but I think taking and having the ambulance service is a benefit for the city. I think in the long term. Do we still have a few things to work out? Yes, we're still, internal things, but our level of service is just, unmatched, I think, and it's just, I think it's a good thing for the department and going forward. So we're operating out of dedicated stations. I remember the days of SBI. I think you were in the location at 7th and twice,
Yeah.
moving around,
Yeah.
quite a bit, or the days of roving in the parking
Sitting
lot.
in parking lots.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just it. I don't think, with us taking it on and having, staff in a minimum 3, but 4, and now hopefully once this, we get these new hires, 5 ambulances.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way SPI would have been able to handle the run volume
Yeah.
to what we're at right now.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's, yeah.
And granted, we are in a transition. We're still hiring more firefighters, but once you get, well, I won't see it. Once you get to that full level, I think it's going to be a great product. I mean, it is now. Don't get me wrong, but it's just that we will able to add that 5th ambulance and things like that. So, just the level of service we've offered is just amazing. So I think that's the biggest thing. I'm happy to have seen that. I've seen, I think, the older days. And now new, and it's going to continue. I know it's going to continue.
Yeah, we had, you look at, and just trying to think. So I had the new kids out to 8s for hazmat awareness here this last Thursday, and I'm just looking and I'm thinking, at 22 years on the job or whatever, and looking at, almost 23. But looking at these kids and thinking how much even I've seen in those 22, and these kids are coming on right now, and just how much culturally and everything that the fire service has changed the last 20 years, and the fire department that they're coming in now, and what they're going to see, in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, people are always going to be sick and hurt, and stuff's always going to burn.
Yeah.
So that job is going to be there, but just what are they going to see in the next 20 years? And it's kind of like then you're in the head starts spinning. You just blow your own mind, going like, man, the things that are going to change. When Chief, when you started and stuff, and even when I did, I mean, we still had the open cab Fords. Where I mean, I just think even as a third man, like that's a change where you get to sit inside all the time. But to go for that to the apparatus we have now, and we attacked fires from the unburned side all the time. Yeah. That was always for you. You went always to the unburned side and came back through.
Yep.
And then now it's just wet stuff on the red stuff and go. And like I said, the tech rescue, the hazmat aspect, even just our technology in hazmat, and even now with this next CIP and what we're going to increase, and just the game changing things that we're going to still doing. There's. It's crazy. It's always evolving.
And not to forget the dive team. I think that's been a great thing. That was a volunteer group.
Yeah.
And I think it's much better. Well, it's technically under USAR, but still, we offer it. I think that's just with the Missouri River and the boats and the boats being repurposed.
3 boats now too.
Yeah.
Like when I think when I came on, they always talked about a boat or whatever. It was like an old flat bottom John boat that didn't float anymore or something like that. That was parked out at the old training tower. I mean, that was our boat, and now you look at what we got.
And not to forget water rescue, ice rescue.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's all the things that have evolved. There's so many I can't remember them all. So that's the biggest thing. Is just the services we offer, and just it's amazing. And everybody does a great job that are involved in those. I mean, they're well trained, and it's can count. That's why I go somewhere and I know they know what they're doing. I'm not going to tell them any different. I'm just there for their safety and the command and resources and getting what you need. So,
Good stuff.
Yeah. What do you guys else? What you guys got anything?
Funniest story or memory?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh man.
Well, like talking about the people that you were down at once with. I mean, that's just like
and I'm like,
when you put some of those personalities together, you can't.
There's a couple.
There's
gems
probably
in there,
stories
I'm
you
sure.
can't tell, because I know there's a couple of those guys we've wanted to get on the podcast that said I can't tell any of my stories because they're not appropriate for
Well,
radio,
most of them do involve Rick Ole, but geez, I think just there's so many as.
Did you ever play? They always talked about the so not just the volleyball on the app floor, but they talked about the bunk room.
Yes.
To the bunk room games. Did you ever get in on that?
So picture Station 1's bunk room, no walls. 4 beds on each side, kind of like it is now without the walls, and a pool table at the far end wall away from the doors. Shut the doors. The only light you get in is what's underneath the door. Now imagine you take a volleyball and you just randomly throw it around the room and see if you hit somebody. I thought, this is really stupid. Why am I standing here? Well, of course I didn't. I was like, I went like this and covered another area. That's all I did. You can hit me anywhere you want, but you're not hitting me here. And every once in a while you get a random hit with somebody because you'd see the light under the door. You can illuminate a little bit of silhouette. So just the things we did like that. And that was, I think,
That's a group of grown ass men. Like,
yes,
hey, let's go in this bunk room, shut the doors, and make it as dark as possible, and whip a ball at each other as hard as we can.
Going on right now. What do you guys want to do?
That's when you know, like that would have been like the most firehouse thing. Besides the fireman cut out on a piece of cake, like that's only firefighters think of a game like that to play. You know, it's
any
not
downtime is not good time.
No, it's not.
It's team building, is what that is.
Well, yeah. Window Wednesday, where you'd go around Station 1 and clean all the windows. Why? And whether they were dirty or not. But you'd have Rick Ohl spraying the back of your pants with that blue glass cleaner until you suddenly felt, why are my pants wet?
Yeah.
And your underwear was blue later.
What happened?
But yeah, a lot of it was ones. Yeah, playing volleyball in the 5th Bay, we had a lot of fun. That's before we had all the trailers and everything else. We don't have the room now, but that was fun time. That was our exercise time.
Yeah.
You know, things you can't really do now, I guess. But
I was going to say, suffice to say that the fun stories you have are things that would probably send you to HR now.
We talk about that, yeah. Sorry, Janelle.
Yeah.
I think just that camaraderie. I don't know. There's a lot of funny stories. The nicknames. I mean, and you know, Shane Reed was, obviously the master of that. I got one that stuck. I think you've heard Big Country, right? I think that was originally of mine.
There you go.
First time I saw him, Big Country.
Wait a minute.
But he was a master of that, and it's just. And you just didn't dare make a mistake because you knew you'd get labeled with something that'd stay with you for your career. So I mean, it's a lot of funny things. I used to mess with Lieutenant Dykstra before he was lieutenant. I'd mess with him a lot. Just he'd float out the 7s. We'd have a lot of good times, but just he was easy to get sometimes, and so I'd mess with him a little bit. But yeah. I'm kind of the guy that likes to stir the pot and then just leave.
No,
you know,
never heard that.
Never,
Today I learned.
I think
Who knew?
I think Tim Wilson called me kerosene at one time, so I don't know.
There's a few guys that are on the job that are always good about, like, they would just get it going, and then all of a sudden,
I'm just gonna leave this here.
Yeah,
and
they
see what happens.
keep going, and like you're looking, and the person's gone.
There's so many stories. I really, I couldn't narrow. There's a lot, and there's probably some, like you said, I probably shouldn't say on air, it's a lot of good times. I think I wrote it in the Bugle this month, kind of my parting thoughts a little bit. I really challenge guys to think about what they'd be doing if they didn't have this job. Now, granted, I know we have issues and topics that come up that's like, what are they doing now? But really think about it. I mean, we got people that are good in carpentry, but you really want to be out there when it's 15 below putting a roof on a new house?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe you can do it as a hobby now in the summer when it's nice.
Yeah, I'd rather cut it and then leave.
Yeah.
I'd rather cut it open and then leave.
Yeah, have to fix it.
Granted, we get some bad conditions to work in sometimes too. I mean, but not having to do it 8 hours, not every day. I mean, and some of the other calls, but. That's what the thing about it that makes this job enjoyable is that every day is different, and think about what you'd really be doing. Now, I know we have some very skilled people that could probably make a great living doing whatever, but for the most part, this is a career. People stay here and don't leave, so except I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And, kick me out the door. It's too old. No, I really do. I really mean that. And I don't know. I said I went to Briarcliff. I started an accounting thing. I could imagine sitting in an office just looking at numbers.
Would you have done that as long as you've done this?
No. Yeah. I'd have been. Yeah, I just started my own business or something anyway. I'd still be doing it. So I really do mean that. It's be grateful for what you have. It is a good career, some good benefits and retirement and things like that, and stay healthy. And
Best job I ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it's
very good
really
reminders.
Best job I ever
Yeah.
Very
Yep.
good reminders.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
Yeah, anything else?
I'm good.
No?
No.
Well, we do have to give a special shout out for a certain gentleman that's sitting with us here that's kind of pointed out that he's out of uniform. But Mr. Devin Shipper, now new Lieutenant Shipper, new LT, going down to ones, going down to the big house.
Yep,
Going
thank you.
to earn his
Excited.
chops down there
Yeah.
in a hurry, with the run volume and everything else. All I got to say is, what shift you going on?
staying on third shift.
Staying on
Yeah.
third shift. So I would have told you to have George tell us to lay us a line, but you're not going to be on the same shift. So first in your district down there, which I will say, I think when you look at their board, I think eights has actually beat ones into their district more than ones has beat eights into
Maybe
our
on your
district, at
shift.
least on our shift.
Maybe
so
on your shift, yeah.
I'm just going to
We'll
leave
see.
that with that.
Yeah.
But
And if it
yeah.
makes you feel any better, nobody can figure out how you got promoted. Like none of us.
Well,
It's
he's
not,
sitting right
it's
here.
not a select
He's sitting right
few.
here. He's leaving, so I got
like-
to
I said,
Chief
it's-
Wilson
wow.
leaving.
The
Yeah,
dart
thanks.
just hit your
Don't
picture,
let
I
the door
guess.
hit you on the way out.
Most
Chief.
consistent.
I'm glad I could leave to allow a few promotions to happen, you know.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are looking at you going, "That's your fault." Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Oh yeah, that was the Wilson promotion, wasn't it?
That was kind of a
Parting
little
gift.
different for the AC promotion, even though the chief ultimately makes the AC one. The staff has a little bit of input, and it was different this time because it's like now it's, in the past it was like, well, this is who I think should get AC, and it'd be somebody I was working with, but now it's somebody that's taking my spot. And it's like it's a little different
Yeah.
mentality. It's like, who do I want that to be? So it was a little different,
I bet.
but
Nice.
yeah.
Well, Chief, thank you for joining
Yeah,
us.
no, it's been enjoyable.
It's been a pleasure working with you.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best. We'll probably see you before you leave, but an amazing assistant chief, an amazing person, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So
Yeah.
wish you all the best.
It's been
I
just
appreciate
okay.
the comments. It's like, I don't know, amazing, but
No, it has. I mean that.
I guess if there was average, maybe a little bit better then. Right?
okay, I'll settle
Take
for
that.
that.
We'd take
I'll
that one.
settle for that.
Okay.
You're in the top 3 of favorite ACs.
Thank
so.
you.
There you go.
No, I appreciate it, and I will miss the folks, and I'll be around. I'll
Good.
obviously just stop in if I see an open door maybe once in a while, and those other times I'll just keep on driving.
You have the option.
Or you'll read the article the next morning and go, "Man, that probably sucked," and then
Yeah.
go back over and
Do not miss
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Perfect.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Chip, you want to take us out?
Ryan, go ahead and drop the tones.